What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Oliver, and on this channel we talk about education and early career development in Finland. And during these weekly live Q&A sessions, I answer your most burning questions about living, studying, and working in Finland. And how these live streams work is that if you have a question that you would like me to answer live, I would like to ask you to ask all of your questions using a Google form that I have linked in the description box below. The reason why we do it this way is that if you post your question into the YouTube live chat, it is highly likely that I'm going to miss your question simply because the chat gets quite busy at times. Before we actually jump into the first questions from this week, let me just first really quickly link the live stream into our Discord server. And if you are for some reason not yet a member of the server, I highly recommend that you consider joining. The idea of the server is to simply build a community of people interested in studying, living, and working in Finland. And in the server, we have a bit more personal discussion about all of these topics. And I post updates about upcoming videos and live streams there as well. All right, let's actually just super quickly say hey to everyone who has already joined. Hey, we have Yes Fleischmann once again. What's up? Welcome. This apparently is already a weekly routine for you, which is really awesome. We have David. What's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here again. We have Aura Kinanti. We have Zai Lord. What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone. Awesome to have you here today. Guys, you know what to do if you have any questions about living, studying, or working in Finland. There's a Google form linked in the description box below, and please ask your questions through the form so that I will get all the questions here in front of me on the computer, and I will be able to go through all the questions in a first come first serve basis. Just letting everyone know that there are still quite a bit of questions left from last week, and as always, I promise to continue from the questions that were left over from last week. So I will start right away, start going through the questions so that I will be able to answer your question from today as well. Marina, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Viom Muley, welcome as well, and Twam Stege, welcome. Hoi hoi, welcome to the stream as well. All right, so the first question comes from Tarag Aziz, who comes from Bangladesh and is applying to do his master's in data sciences in the next application period. And he has a couple of questions. First of all, hi Oliver, could most Finnish people understand Russian language? No, Russian language is not an official language in Finland, and it is taught only in a number of schools. And I don't know. I only know one person. I only know personally one Finnish person who knows Russian at least somewhat fluently or well. So as a general rule of thumb, Finnish people do not speak Russian. Then the second question was, could master students or do master students have to show living expenses in their bank accounts every year for a renewed visa? So every time you want or need to renew your student visa, yes, you need to show that you have the financial resources or financial funds in order to stay in Finland. So yes, that's the answer to the question. All right. Yes, Fleischmann saying, sadly, I can't see the live today, but I came here to say hi. Have a good stream. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. And, as normal, if you have any questions, just leave them to the Google form before you have to go. And then you can watch the live in a replay and maybe see the answer for your question. Anyway, the next question comes from Anand Menon, who comes from India and has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in the Patriarch flying school, which is really interesting. So for those of you who do not know this, which I would guess is basically everyone else except Anand, Patriarch is a Finnish company basically training pilots for both private and or civilian as well as military applications. And they have a flying school in Finland through which many Finnish pilots, actually commercial pilots, go through, and before they actually go and work to different aviation companies. And the question is, are foreign nationals allowed to join the Patria flying training school and then join the Finnish aviation company Finnair? And what are the requirements? So I have no idea of the requirements. I have never looked into this before. This is just something that is super specific and special. I've never ever looked into this. I've never been that interested myself in aviation. However, my understanding is that yes, foreign nationals can join the Patria flight school, but what the actual requirements are, I have absolutely no idea. Anyway, the next question comes from Rodrigo, who comes from Chile and is applying to study a master's in education in the next application period. And the question is it possible to work as a teacher even before you start studying? As a general rule of thumb, no, you cannot work in Finland as a teacher unless you have a master's level education in teaching. You need to have the pedagogical skills in order to actually teach, and you need to have a actual degree in this field. In Finland, the profession of teaching is highly regarded and is very highly respected. And actually getting to study to become a teacher in Finland is actually very difficult because it's a very highly sought after degree and career. So no, you cannot work in Finland as a teacher already while you are studying. You have to have graduated basically. Jed Kotti, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here again, as always. You know what to do. If you have any questions, Google form below. The next question comes from the Indian guy, and who is still in high school and is interested in doing a degree in computer sciences. And the question is Bachelor's of Science degree in computer science worth it to find jobs in Finland? Absolutely yes. So doing a bachelor's in computer sciences is definitely worth doing in Finland. Of course, my personal recommendation is that considering the amount of considering the direction where the world is going and where the different fields and sectors are going, my personal opinion is that the higher your educational degree, the better in terms of your future career development, because in the future we are going to go to more and more towards a knowledge-based future basically, and that means that the higher your education, the better your opportunities are to compete against other people in the job market. So basically my recommendation would be to do first a bachelor's degree in computer science and then continue for a master's right away, and that way you will have excellent career opportunities in Finland. Jed Kotti saying, sadly, Suomi lost finals. Yes, that is indeed correct, and very unfortunate. Finland lost to Canada in the Ice Hockey World Championship finals. A very unfortunate fact, and I was pretty bummed for a couple of days because we were so close. But, you know, the next time we will do it. Finland has won the World Championship 3 times, and it's a very precious thing every single time we get to medals. So that is nevertheless awesome. A great achievement from the team. Anyway, the next question comes from Robert from Greece, and Robert is starting school this semester at the KAMK University of Applied Sciences. Awesome. Doing a bachelor's in business. Nice. And the question is, hi, I've been accepted to KAMK! Exclamation mark. First of all, before I continue with the question, Robert, congratulations. That is absolutely awesome. Congrats on being admitted. KAMK, what I've heard, KAMK is a great school, and getting a degree from there, you're going to have an excellent career in front of you. Of course, hopefully we will have a normal academic year starting from autumn, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy yourself in Finland. And actually, Robert is asking, is it a good university in your opinion? So we have to make a definition here. So you have to again remember that KAMK is a University of Applied Sciences, not a university. Basically, there are a few differences here. Basically, some people refer to universities of applied sciences as polytechnic universities. They're more hands-on and practical compared to universities which are based on a more academic and theoretical basis. In addition, you have to remember that when you go to do a degree in a University of Applied Sciences, you most often just do a bachelor's degree, while if you go and do a university degree, you will also do a master's degree basically automatically. So there are differences here, but again, referring to your question, KAMK is a good school, definitely, but if you want to do a master's afterwards, I definitely recommend that you perhaps look to other universities afterwards. Also, the question is the following. In the acceptance letter, I was told to accept my study place, which I did, and to enroll as present. Could you please explain to me what it means? Sure. So every single academic year, or before the start of each academic year in Finland, every single university student or University of Applied Sciences student has to enroll or register themselves as an attending student, basically meaning I am going to be present at school this academic year. The reason for this is that in Finland, you're actually able to take a gap year by registering yourself as unattending. So basically, if you want to work full time for a year in between your studies, you can do that by registering yourself as unattending. So you have to do either. You have to register yourself either as attending or non-attending by the given deadline. If not, you will actually lose your place at the university. But both are fine. And where you actually enroll yourself as present and what the actual procedures are depends a bit on the school. But basically, you have to do this through the digital systems used by the university. You should have all the information and the instructions to do this in your email, basically attached in your admission email or letter. So make sure to go through all the instructions very carefully. If you can't find the instructions there, then go to the university or KAMK website and they will have the instructions there. Great question. Muhammad, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Hopefully you guys are doing fine. Hopefully everyone has stayed safe and healthy. And hopefully you have been able to enjoy the start of the summer, at least to some extent. Anyway, the next question comes from David from Hungary. And David has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in the University of Helsinki and Turku, doing a master's in human neuroscience, which is awesome. And the question is, on what basis are applicants evaluated for international master's degrees? How big is the oversubscription? And can I do something outside of university studies that would help? And does Finnish language proficiency / language exam matter? And if it matters, or does it matter if I do my bachelor's degree in my mother tongue or in English? Great questions, David. Let's go through this one by one. Let's actually start from the last one because that's the easiest. So if you do your bachelor's degree in your mother tongue or English, it doesn't matter. The only thing that you have to take into account that when you apply to study in Finland, if your university or bachelor's degree, undergraduate degree certificate is not in English, you have to get it translated and certified before you actually send the attachment to the university in Finland that you're applying to. So that's something that you need to take into account. However, the language of your studies in your undergrad doesn't matter when you're applying to study in Finland. Basically, the only case where it would matter is if you do your degree in an English language country, mainly UK, US, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. I think there's one or two more countries on the list, because in those cases you don't actually have to do an English language proficiency test. However, if you do not come from a majority English speaking country, which are there are official lists which countries are listed basically in these. So for example, if you come from India, where a lot of people speak English, that doesn't count. You still have to do an English language proficiency test. Anyway, so yeah, so basically since you come from Hungary, you need to do an English language proficiency test. However, your Finnish language skills or whether or not you speak Finnish, it does not matter if you apply for an English language program. However, if you speak Finnish natively, then you can apply for a Finnish language program. However, that process is completely different, and I cannot go into detail in that because it basically involves doing a high school degree in Finland. So let's skip that altogether. And then the question about how big is the oversubscription, so basically how many people apply to each university in Finland each year and how many are left out in the admission. No idea. Actually, these are numbers that are not publicized, so I cannot even give you an estimate on this, unfortunately. And then the question, yeah, no, actually, never mind. I will not comment on that any further. And then, can I do something outside the university studies that would help? Yes. So depending on the university that you're applying to, they do assess different kind of stuff or things when you apply to study in Finland. And what kind of requirements and things they actually assess depends on the university as well as the university program that you're applying to. So, for example, if you apply to Aalto University, which is my institution, the assessment and the requirements are going to be different between, for example, a master's degree in computer sciences and a master's degree in business, because they're two different topics. However, it's quite common that when you apply for a master's, you will also have to submit your CV, you will have to submit a motivation letter, which is very important, and you might have some kind of and you have to do an English language proficiency test, and you might have to do some kind of an other aptitude test. For example, if you apply for a master's in business, you have to do the GREs or GMATs, which are specifically for that field. So what I recommend you to do is, since you are applying for a very, very specific field, in this case, human neurosciences, there are not that many schools in Finland that teach this, most likely. So it should not be that difficult for you to actually look through the different requirements, as long as you just find the schools that actually teach this on master's level. So there. Cool. Hopefully that gave you a bit of context around your question. Before we jump into the next question, just wanted to say hi to everyone who just joined. Harsh Agarwal, welcome to the stream as well. We have Nandeshwara PM, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. We have Sudha, we have Manan Nazir, we have Topolo. Hey Topolo, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. I actually did not answer your question as of yet, at least not for if you posted it today. I also have a bunch of questions left from last week, which I'm going through right now in kind of a rapid fire, with kind of a rapid fire system. So I'm trying to go through the questions from last week as fast as possible so that I will get to your questions that you submitted right now. But welcome to the stream. Guys, if this is the first time you are joining the stream, do note that at the bottom of the screen, I actually mentioned that if you want your questions to be answered live, please post your question into the Google form, which I have linked in the description box below. The reason why we do it this way is because the live chat on YouTube gets really busy at times, and it's very difficult for me to keep an eye out on the chat while I'm reading the questions and trying to answer them in the best way that I can. However, if you post your question into the Google form, again, link in the description box below, I will have all the questions here in an Excel, in a spreadsheet in front of me, and it's very easy for me to go through them in the order that they actually come in. Sofian, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Hopefully you're doing fine. If you have any questions, there's a link to the Google form in the description box below. Jess Velasco, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Sasuke Naruto, welcome everyone. Let's jump back into the questions. I will jump back into the chat in just a moment, but let's continue with the questions so that I can go through this as fast as possible. And actually, by the way, Topoyo, your question is next. So the next question comes from Topoyo, who comes from Lesotho, and she's a regular on the channel, which is awesome. Awesome to see the same faces or same names same names in the live streams every single week or every now and then. And Topoyo is applying to the University of Helsinki and the University of Turku to do a master's in translational medicine, drug discovery, and biomedical sciences. Awesome. And the question is, for master's programs, how doable is it that I can all right, sorry. In the case of master's programs, how doable is it that I could transfer from a university in another country to one in Finland to finish the program. I have and then another question. It has snowed in most of the rural parts in the country here. What season are you in Finland? Actually, let's start with that. We're actually in the early stages of summer, so it's actually very warm outside right now. It's green everywhere, flowers everywhere, and it's really, really warm. The sea is actually warming up nicely, so people are actually going swimming all the time. So it's really, really nice. So basically June, July is when the summer is the hottest, especially late July, and then in August it starts to slowly then get a bit milder once again, and then September, October it gets a bit colder, and then the winter really kicks in. Anyway, for your question, so transferring your studies basically from another university in another country to Finland, I don't know if that can be done at all. If yes, then that's very rare. You have to consider that even inside of Finland, it is very difficult to transfer your courses or your credits that you have accumulated from one university to another. For example, I have a lot of friends who, for example, when they applied to Aalto University School of Business at the same time with me, but a couple of them did not get admitted to Aalto, but rather to another business school in Finland. And then they reapplied to Aalto the next year, and then they got admitted. However, they already have 1 year's worth of studies in that other business school inside of Finland. However, they had to start from zero at Aalto because they did not accept the courses that those students had already done in the other universities. So if it's not possible to do within universities inside of Finland, kind of transferring your studies and continuing your studies from where you left off in another country, but then in Finland, most likely it's not possible. But of course, there might be some exceptions, so please make sure to do your own due diligence and research just to make sure. However, this is my kind of general gist of it. Moving on, the next question comes from Rodrigo, again from Chile, and the question is, hey, and good morning from a sunny morning here in Santiago, Chile. Awesome. I'm really interested in moving, working, and studying in Finland, and I'm an English teacher with more than 10 years of experience in my country. I have a family in Finland, so I would have some support at the beginning. I have already visited the country and I really loved it. My question is it possible to find a job in education in Finland even before starting the studies there? I would also like you to give tips about how to start researching and looking for studies there. Hugs. So yeah, all right. So I basically answered this question already, but actually now that you gave me more information, I have to reformulate my answer. So if you want to teach, for example, in kindergarten or at primary school in Finland, you have to have a formal education that is certified here. Education is very highly regulated in Finland because we have a very high we keep teachers at a very high regard, and our schools are some of the best in the world. So that means that you have to be accepted by the Finnish, I think it's Board of Education, in order for you to work as a teacher. However, since you already have a degree in education and you have already quite a bit of experience, it might be that you might be able to actually work in some of the international schools that we, for example, have in Helsinki. For example, the Helsinki International School, which I think has everything from primary, middle to high school. However, the problem with teaching at a Finnish school where the students learn in Finnish is that you need to be able to teach them in Finnish or in Swedish if you are in a Swedish-speaking area. So that is going to be the biggest barrier if you want to teach Finnish students. So basically, for example, if you look at, let's say, the United States, where you might see, or that's a bad example, but for example, if you think about like subjects like history or mathematics or any other subjects that are not necessarily tied to a certain language, that doesn't really matter, because those subjects have to still be taught in Finnish, basically in the official languages that we have in Finland, which are Finnish and Swedish. So what I would recommend you to do is to start researching the degrees in education from the University of Helsinki website. It's the #1 university in this field, and I would recommend that you, instead of trying to go through their website and look, go through all the information there, please contact the University of Helsinki admission services directly via email. I think their email should be admissions, so that's plural, admissions@helsinki.fi, if I remember correctly. Please check that from the University of Helsinki website. Just Google University of Helsinki admission contact, and you should find the information there. And ask the same question about this topic from there as well, because they will be able to give you more information on the topic. I always struggle answering questions about the health sector, as well as the educational sector and some other sectors that are highly regulated, because I haven't looked that much into them. So I have only small amount of information about them, and trying to answer every single specific question about them is super difficult for me, because there's just so much to know. So that's kind of the problem. Awesome. Let's see. We have a couple of questions in the chat. Let's go through a couple of random questions from the chat, so we can kind of jump back and forth. The question from Harsh Agarwal, which is actually a good one. Can we cover can we cover living expenses with a part-time job? Yes, it's doable, but it's not easy. I do have a separate video about this topic on the channel, so if you go to the channel and look for part-time, you should find the video where I'm talking about part-time work and how much money you would actually need to make in order to pay for your living costs. In addition, I also have a video on the channel already where I talk about how much does it cost to live in Finland. So if you go to the channel and search for cost, you should find a video. It's a rather old video. I think it's 2 years old, where I actually go through in an Excel spreadsheet how much it actually costs on average to live in Finland. That example is from the capital region, however, so that's quite expensive. However, that gives you a good benchmark on what to expect. Good question, though. Then we have Manar Nazir asking, is an MBA free in Finland? No. If you want to study in Finland as an international student and you're not a European Union student or citizen, then degrees are not, university level degrees are not free. Then we have a question from Sasuke Naruto. Hi sir, can the acceptance and scholarships, can I get the admission and scholarships? And furthermore, I have a score of 6.55 from IELTS, and I am a second-year student, and my GPA is 81. So I want to study a bachelor's degree again in Finland. And so basically, all right. So Sasuke is asking about whether or not that would make you eligible to actually get admitted. I have no idea. First of all, a GPA of 81 doesn't tell me anything, because in Finland we have GPAs in high school. We count our scores are from 0 to 10. So your GPA cannot be over 10. And then in university, we have our GPAs or numbers are from 0 to 5. So 0 is failed, 5 is the best. So your GPA cannot be above 5. So 85 doesn't tell me anything, or it doesn't mean anything to me. The same thing goes to IELTS tests, for example. I've never done an IELTS test myself because I haven't had to. In addition, it's the minimum score for a language proficiency test when you apply for a university. It's not public information. I don't know what the minimum requirement is, so it's impossible for me to comment on that either. So when you're just letting everyone know, if and when you're asking me about specific minimum requirements or to get admitted to a university or to get a scholarship, my answer is always I don't know, and I don't want to guess. And if you read about this kind of stuff online, be very wary, because you have to remember that, for example, the minimum requirements to get admitted to a specific university is going to change every single year, because it depends on the level of students that apply. So if, for example, you read something on Reddit, I would not trust anything I would basically not trust anything that you read on Reddit or forums, or even if YouTubers tell you something, because it always depends on the case and the university and the year, etc. So just, taking that into account. Then Samuel Cookie is asking an interesting question. Bro, can you play football? Personally, I don't. I'm really bad at soccer. If you're talking about soccer, I can play it. I don't. It's not my biggest, hobby. But yeah, in Finland we do play quite a lot of soccer, especially during the summer. During the winter, you have to go indoors to play soccer. But that's something. Then we have a question in the chat from Decapitated Fairy. Do they have apartment buildings in Aalto specifically for master students? No, they do not. So you have to take into account that universities in Finland do not have any kind of student apartments to offer. So again, the universities, so the schools themselves do not have any university apartments or apartments for students at all. All student apartments come from third-party organizations that are mostly non-profit, and I have a bunch of videos on this topic on my channel. I actually have a full playlist about student apartments in Finland. So the Decapitated Fairy, I really recommend that you go to the channel and check out on the channel page. If you just scroll down, there is a playlist saying called Student Apartments in Finland. I have plenty of videos explaining what kind of apartments are available, how much they cost, how to apply, and etc. And go through them, but there are no specific apartments for master students specifically. These are not defined. So you can apply for student apartments if you are a bachelor's or a master's student. Sometimes you can also apply for student apartments if you are a PhD student. However, if you are a postgrad researcher, you cannot apply for student apartments as a general rule of thumb. Let's see. And then Harsh Agarwal is asking best universities for undergraduate computer sciences in Finland. Aalto University is definitely the best school for that. Then we have Jess Velasco. Moi Oliver, thank you for responding to my question last time. You're welcome. I'm glad that I'm able to catch this live stream because it's 10:48 p.m. by me. Ooh, that's late. Well, maybe have a small glass of water and maybe tea. And listen for a while and then go to sleep. That's cool. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Anyway, let's move forward and the next question from the forum comes from Guilaim. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name. Guilaim, I think. Guilaim, who comes from France. The French pronunciation is totally super difficult for me. I speak some German, but I do not speak any French, except bonjour. I don't know why I'm sounding like a pirate trying to speak French, but nothing comes to mind. Blacking out. That's very nice. Anyway, the next question comes from Guillaume from France, and he's applying to Aalto University School of Business to do a bachelor's in information systems in business. Awesome. And the question is, hi Oliver, what's up? I was wondering, do you think it would be hard to get a job abroad in France, for instance, with a master's degree from Aalto University School of Business? If I study there, do you think I will have to work in Finland forever, or can I work in France after the degree? I ask this because I love Finland, but it would be a very big commitment to decide that I will stay there forever, because I'm still young and I'm not sure. I would like the idea of having the option to come back and get a job in France, just in case I end up missing my family. Is it feasible, or will I have to get a job in Finland? Thank you a lot. Cheers. Great question. Actually, a very interesting question. I've never been asked this before, and the definite answer to this is no. You absolutely do not have to stay in Finland. Of course, we would love you to stay in Finland and build your career here. Maybe start a family here and just stay here. Not only for your taxes, but because we actually need more international talent in Finland in the future. And that's one of the reasons why I'm actually running the channel. But yeah, absolutely no. And I actually have a bunch of friends, Finnish friends, who have actually gone to Aalto in the same school as I, and they work abroad. For example, I have a friend who's working in the financing sector in Switzerland. I have a friend who is in London. I have a friend who is in Brazil. I have a friend who is in Brussels. So all over the place. I have a friend who went worked in China for a while. So people spread around all around the place. The degrees that are taught in Aalto and in any other English taught degrees in Finland are basically international degrees. So they absolutely make you eligible to work anywhere in the world. And for example, I do have a bunch of family friends who have done really well for themselves. For example, in the States, family friend of ours, who basically a friend of my parents, is actually working at a very high position in New York as a banker in an international company working in the financial sector, and he has done all of his degrees in Finland, and he's actually a Finnish national. So yeah, absolutely, you don't have to stay in Finland. We would of course love if you wanted to stay here, but of course I understand your question, so absolutely not. Awesome. Chris Quevedo, what's up? Welcome to the stream, man. Chris is asking, Moi, are doctoral students allowed to apply for student apartments? So depends on the student apartment provider. For example, HOAS does allow PhD students to apply for their apartments in Helsinki. However, you have to take into account that they actually prioritize bachelor's and master's students for these student apartments. So that means that you would only be offered an apartment from HOAS if they have extra apartments available, which is quite rare. So you have to take this into account. The reason for this usually is that as a PhD student, you are basically working for the university. So it's basically a paid job. I have talked about this before. You don't necessarily get a direct salary from the university, but you have to apply for funding for your research, and that's basically your salary. So in a sense, it's a paid job. So this is why student apartments are not prioritized for PhD students. However, you are allowed to apply for them depending on the provider, but just take into account that you're not prioritized. So that will impact your chances of getting a student apartment. Chris also saying, hi, you mentioned that it is okay being a straight 5 student, but employers do not pay a lot of attention to that. Is it safe to say that grades are important for universities, but not as much for employers? This is a good question. Yeah, so definitely grades are absolutely important for universities, especially when you're applying for a master's, and especially even more emphasis on when you apply for a PhD. So if you want to study as a PhD student, you have to have really good grades. Well, of course, depends on the school again, but as a general rule of thumb, if you have a bad GPA, why would the university want you to present them as a PhD student, basically? Because they are looking for academic excellence. That's kind of what they're looking for, and they want people who are able to contribute to the university research. So absolutely, your GPA and especially your thesis and your master's thesis is going to be very important when you apply for a PhD, at least what I've heard. Then to your question about whether or not employers in Finland care about grades. So as a general rule of thumb, not that much. It's more important when you apply for your first jobs, because that's of course companies use that as a filter, especially if you have a lot of applicants. Excuse me. However, the more work experience you get and accumulate, the less and less companies actually care about your GPA. Of course, however, I have to say, I'm sure that there are people in the stream or in the replay who are interested in working in fields like investment banking or management consultancy or something like this, which are fields which are very highly competitive. And if you, for example, think about companies like Goldman Sachs or McKinsey and Company, any kind of big investment banking or management consultant companies which have offices in London, and a lot of actually finance students in Finland apply for those jobs in London or in New York or so. Those companies care about your GPA, and they actually care quite a lot. I've actually heard that if you apply for a job, for example, at Goldman Sachs, even as a master's student, they will ask you to provide them with your high school degrees, which is completely insane in my mind. But they're looking for this even and continuous or proven and continuous achievements from your life. So, you know, if you're applying for those kind of jobs, yeah, your GPA is going to be very important, especially in the beginning. However, if you apply for almost any other field, yeah, no, that's not that important. Of course, I still recommend that everyone focuses on school, because if your GPA is less than average, less than 3, it is going to have an impact, negative impact. However, it's not going to destroy your career per se. However, on the other hand, if you have a GPA of 4.5, which is almost perfect, it's not gonna make that much of a difference, to be honest. Cool. Then what else? We have the next question comes from Tarag Aziz again, and the question is: thanks, Oliver. Could you tell me the reasons or secrets behind why Finland is the most happiest country in the world? Yeah, that's actually a good question, and I've been pondering about that myself. But I think that there are so many things that I could mention here, but the things that I care about is, well, these are not in any kind of a priority order, just in an order that I basically think about them. Safety. It's super safe in Finland for you know, kids, women, you know, people from all ages. I've never, of course, I'm a you know, man, so it's of course it's a bit different for me than for some women, of course. However, I've never had to be afraid anywhere. My girlfriend has never had to be afraid anywhere, no matter whether it's in the middle of the night at the center of the capital city, you know, as a teenager. People are not afraid because it's so safe, and the society and the societal structures promote safety and caring about each other. So that kind of, you know, leads us into the culture. Finnish culture is very, how would I say? As a small country up north, we have had to work together in order to build ourselves into the success that we are nowadays internationally, especially in for example, in technology. And that means that there is a heavy emphasis on working together and this kind of talkoohenki, as we say in Finnish, basically meaning that if you have like a barn, I think there was a funny example that someone used. So if you have a barn and the barn door is broken, and you have then you just invite a bunch of your friends over and you know, buy them pizza and beer, and you all of you know, spend time fixing the barn door, and then when someone else needs help, the same thing is done for everyone else. So it's very how do you say? So it's very, the culture is very unselfish. So instead of being super selfish and self-centered, we actually focus quite a lot on other people in that kind of sense. Then of course, you know, one other thing that we have seen, especially during 2020, is how well the public sector works. So of course, again, we pay quite a lot of taxes in Finland. However, what we get from those taxes is a very highly functioning public sector, and we have seen the effects of that during 2020 and early 2021, because we are one of the best countries to live right now during this time in the pandemic. You almost cannot see any kind of a difference when you're, you know, outside. The biggest differences are that there are no big public events, and bars and restaurants have to close quite early. But you know, in every other sense, it's actually very, you know, normal here. I just got vaccinated yesterday, and it was super efficient, and we are actually doing really well with the vaccination. So I think that it's a combination of all kinds of things. Cleanliness, for example, the nature is beautiful. What else? Well, I can't come up with anything else, but actually there's a very interesting research about this. So if you actually Google why is Finland the happiest country in the world, you actually can come up with you can actually find the white paper where they actually did the research, and they actually explain a lot of these things in detail. So I would recommend checking that out. And actually David has a very good point in the chat saying, and low corruption levels is a very big thing. That's absolutely true. Finland actually has some of the highest trust in police and public figures in the world, which is great. That's very good. Anyway, the next question from the forum comes from Aman from India, and Aman is applying to do a bachelor's in international business. And the question is, you actually got my question wrong way, Oliver. Oh, sorry. I actually would like to know that I would actually like to know in which universities of applied sciences. Let's see. So I would like to know that which universities of applied sciences will be going to take place for autumn 2021 applications, because I missed my residence permit for spring 2021 because of COVID, in spite of having admission from Karelia University of Applied Sciences. All right, I have to say, Aman, I actually don't really understand the question. If you could please, if you're still live, please reformulate the question, for example, in the chat. Just ping me in the chat and I will get to your question, because I don't quite understand what the question actually is. Bonfire, yes, we are still going through some of the questions from last week. I'm trying to go through this in a rapid fire, system, so to get to your questions. But I've always promised to actually start with the questions that are left from last week. So it's gonna take a while for me to get to the questions this week. But don't worry, I will get there. It's just gonna take a moment. And then Chris is actually saying in the chat, and the reason why I'm actually answering and reading the comments and questions from David and Chris in the chat is actually because they are channel members. And that's kind of one of the perks of being a channel member, getting a bit more attention during the live streams, because they actually help support the channel. So just, letting you know. So Chris saying, thanks a lot. I have heard that networking is super duper mega important, and finishing up on time, rather than getting straight fives in is more, and finishing up on finishing school on time is more important rather than getting straight fives. Yeah, that's definitely true, I would say. Of course, networking, especially when talking about your job hunting and career development, is extremely important in Finland. And as a funny statistic to throw out there, if you didn't know, according to some sources, 70 to 80% of all jobs in Finland are actually filled quietly, so that they are never advertised publicly, and they're basically filled through company networks. So this is one of the reasons why it's super important to network and build your professional networks the second that you land in Finland, because if you don't build your networks, it's going to make your job hunting so much more difficult. So just take that into account. Actually, Pahakasvi Venuksesta has a very good point about why Finland is such a happy country, saying, and quite strong trade unions by workers. That's actually a very good point. So we are a very heavily unionized country, which means that unions actually negotiate, for example, minimum salaries for different fields and working conditions. So this is actually a very good point. Thanks for that. That's very true. And then also David saying it was great news in Hungary that an investigation was launched against the Finnish Prime Minister for a few €100, which is so strange to us. Yeah, so without going too deep into this, basically the biggest political scandal in Finland, during the last few years, has been that the Prime Minister in Finland, the current one, has been paid too much for her basically breakfast. What is it called? Basically a grant for the breakfast, for her breakfast, because those are paid for her job, because of her job, and she was paid too much or something like this. But we're talking about a couple of €1,000, and that's the biggest scandal in Finland in the political field. So I think that gives you the scope of how uncorrupted Finland is, basically. All right, cool. The next question from the forum comes from Ken from Germany. And Ken is interested in doing a degree in economics. Awesome. And the question is, how different would you say is Finland from Sweden regarding the university system, but also in general? I know that you're not Swedish, but I figured you would know more than the average person because the two countries are next to each other, culture-wise, university, etc. Just to compare the countries and have a general idea, maybe. Yeah, that's actually an interesting question. And of course, I can only give general ideas and my opinion. In my opinion, if you don't count the differences in languages, the Finland and Sweden are actually very, very much alike. We both have public university systems, and the level of education in both countries is excellent. That's it. I think the biggest differences are in culture, and I would say that I would need to have a longer discussion about this topic if I were to give you a proper answer. However, I would say that in terms of the education system and living conditions, the quality of life, etc., we're on very equal grounds. I would say that there's actually not that much difference. Great question, though. Sorry, I'm not really able to give you a broader answer, simply because I would need to go into the cultures, and that would require me to have a longer discussion about this. All right, the next question comes from Stefan from Indonesia. Stefan is still in high school, but is interested in learning economics. And there's a couple of questions here. Number one, as a high school student, does traveling to Finland due to COVID-19, all right, let's reformulate this. As a high school student, would I be able to travel to Finland, basically from a Southeast Asia country, and basically whether or not you come from the east or south or north, wherever, it doesn't really matter. There's a list of countries that the Finnish government updates all the time, where travel is restricted to Finland. Please refer to the official sources. In this case, I will not start going through the countries, because the list is going to be updated every single week. So everything that I would be saying right now is going to be old news next week, which is not something that I want. But recently I've been using the Finnish 101.com website, which I had already used to learn basic Finnish language. Awesome. Since I know a lot about the Finnish society, is there a good chance that I could study directly in Finland, and can you make new friends? Yeah, so absolutely, there's absolutely an opportunity for you to study in Finland. Knowing Finnish is going to definitely help you, and understanding the Finnish culture is going to help you make Finnish friends and integrate into the society, but it's not required. Of course, it's going to help. The same thing goes to any other country in the world. However, it's definitely not a requirement if you want to, integrate into the Finnish society. Then the second question, my second thought is that I want to ask about: is there any chances that as a student, can I find part-time jobs for earning enough money and managing my living costs? And I'm still in the 12th grade, so quite far from university, and I would like to get some information on the language proficiency tests and processes, so that I can actually get prepared in time. Right, so about the language proficiency tests, let's go through this first. Whether or not you need to do language proficiency tests or separate language proficiency tests, and what tests are accepted, depends on the university as well as the university program that you're applying to. So I will not say that much more here. The most common ones are IELTS and TOEFL, but there are also other ones that are nowadays accepted. Please check out the university website for the exact information and requirements. Then about living costs, yes, you can work part-time as a student in Finland if you are a non-European Union or non-European Economic Area citizen. You can work on average 25 hours per week during the times when education or teaching is given, and this means basically when it's not holiday. And during holidays, which is basically Christmas holiday and summer holiday, you can work without any kind of restrictions. However, I have to say here that finding a job especially as a bachelor student, and even emphasizing, especially as a new bachelor student in Finland, finding a job that pays enough to cover all of your living costs is going to be extremely difficult. In addition, since you apply to Finland from outside the EU, you need to apply for a residence permit. And the Finnish Immigration Service, which provides the residence permits, requires you to have enough financial funds on your bank account already before you apply for the permit, so that you don't have to rely on a job or the social security system in Finland, especially during your first year here. So just take that into account. Awesome. Before I jump into the next question, just a super quick drink. And meanwhile, of course, if you are if you have just joined the stream, or if it's the first time that we're meeting, my name is Oliver, and on the channel we talk about education and early career development in Finland. And during the live streams, I answer your questions about living, studying, and working in Finland. And as it says at the bottom of the screen right here, If you want your question to be answered live, please post your questions into the Google form, which is linked in the description box below, and that way I can answer your questions in a first come, first serve basis. Now, quick drink, and while I'm actually having a drink, I would really appreciate if you guys could gently tap the like button underneath the video. We're currently at 22 likes, and it would be awesome to get to 45, 50 likes by the end of the stream. Awesome. By the way, that's just water, not beer. Just, you know, if the guys at Valvira are watching, hello, it's water. It's a joke. In Finland, we have very strict laws about marketing alcohol, so just, you know, putting that out there. Anyway, the next question comes from Marco from Italy, and Marco is interested in doing a degree in computer sciences. And the question is, how long do you think it takes to learn Finnish at a level where you can have conversations with Finnish friends, so that you can have a group of friends with Finns where all speak Finnish? I already speak 4 languages fluently, so I have experience learning foreign languages, but those are Latin languages, so very different from Finnish. Yeah, that's actually a very good question. However, I can say from experience that being very, very good at languages and knowing how to learn new languages is definitely going to help. It's, of course, great question. Very difficult to say for sure, because of course this is very personal, depends on the person and depends on how much you work. However, it's definitely possible to get your Finnish, you know, to a fluent enough level or good enough level to have, you know, day-to-day conversations. I'd say in a couple of years at least, at latest, if you, excuse me, if you just put in the work. On the other hand, I actually have a Korean friend from South Korea who I met on the first day of school 9 years ago. And he had actually been in Finland for only a couple of months before the start of the school. And he actually was already able to speak quite nicely, you know, some day-to-day Finnish, and his pronunciation was spot on. So I actually initially thought that he was Finnish because he actually introduced himself to me in Finnish, which was very confusing because his pronunciation was perfect. So definitely, if you just put in the work, it's doable, you know, in a year or two, of course. But then on the other hand, I know people who have been married to a Finnish person for 10, 15 years, and they still don't speak any Finnish. So it depends on how much effort you put into it. However, I would say that if you are really good in languages, even if they are Latin languages, it should not take that much longer for you to you know, get a new language proficient in Finnish compared to what you have already done. You just have to put in the hours. All right, the next question comes from Lisa from Russia, and Lisa is starting school this semester, awesome, at the University of Tampere, doing her bachelor's in mathematics. Nice. All right. The question is, hey, could you describe the process of getting a SIM card for internationals in Finland? Yes, absolutely I can. So there are a couple of companies, and by the way, not sponsored at all. Let's see. Excuse me. So there are a couple of companies that I would recommend you to use if you want to get a SIM card for a student in Finland. I do not recommend that you guys get any kind of prepaid cards, because those are going to be extremely expensive in the long term. Rather, if you are going to stay in Finland for multiple years as a degree student, you should get a full-on SIM card, which is basically paid every single month, and those usually include you know, the minimum subscription plans that I would recommend you to get is unlimited 4G internet, unlimited text, unlimited SMS, or phone calls, and for a student that's usually around 20 euros per month, so super cheap. In Finland, SIM cards and especially internet is extremely cheap, and there are 2 companies that I really recommend. Telia is one, so telia.fi, and then from top right, choose English, or then Elisa. These are the 2 biggest phone subscription plan providers in Finland. I have actually mine from Elisa. I've been very happy for, you know, many years. I think maybe the last 10 years or so with Elisa. Again, hashtag not sponsored. And what I would recommend you to do is to, instead of trying to buy it from the internet, because you would need to order them by the SIM card by post, basically just walk into any kind of a large shopping center, and these guys will have stores, some kind of store, offline or face-to-face store in every single large shopping center, and you can just go there and then tell them what kind of a subscription plan you actually want to get, and you can buy you can buy the SIM card right there and then. However, the thing is that you should take into account that when you actually come to Finland as a student, you have to take into account that you need to prove your identity, so you need to have your passport, and I recommend that you also have your admission letter from the university with you when you actually buy these kind of subscription services, so that the salesperson actually knows that you're going to be here for a longer period of time. Because if you come to Finland as a tourist or for just a few months, then they will not sell you a full subscription plan, but rather they will sell you a prepaid card. Again, which you do not want, especially since you want to stay here in Finland for a longer period of time. So, there. Great question, though. Very good practical question, very important. Anyway, the next question comes from David. And again, David, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your last name. David Diostsegi. By the way, David, if you want me to pronounce your name properly in the future, you can actually send me a voice DM, direct message, but a voice message on Discord if that's something that you're interested in. And that way, I will be able to listen to your the pronunciation of your name, and I will be able to actually pronounce your name correctly. Actually, talking about that, if any one of you has not or is new to Discord or to the channel, we actually have a Discord server, and if you're interested in learning things about living, studying, and working in Finland, I recommend that you join the server. There is a link in the live chat, I think, on that side, and in the server we just have we are building a community of people interested in Finland and in living, studying, and working in Finland, and we answer each other's questions about all of these topics, and I post updates about upcoming videos and live streams on the server. So if you're interested, do consider joining the server, completely free, naturally. Then of course, one more thing is that since most of you are actually planning on coming to Finland either to study or to work, I highly recommend that you sign up for the waiting list that I just linked into the live chat as well. So that's a waiting list to my upcoming course, which is all about job hunting in Finland. So it's basically going to be Job Hunting in Finland 101, a very comprehensive course covering everything that you need to know about job hunting in Finland, from the legal rights of job hunters or job seekers all the way to how to start your first day at your new job. Salary negotiations, what kind of a CV, how to use LinkedIn in Finland. All of this is included in the course. I'm still working on the course, so it's not live yet. But if you're interested in hearing more about the course and the price when it actually comes out, I recommend that you sign up for the waiting list, which I linked in the chat. Anyway, the question from David, by the way, sorry, David comes from Hungary and is applying for a master's in human neurosciences at the University of Turku or Helsinki. And the question is, do you know if foreigners can compete in the athletics championships in Finland? And are there any street races for cash prizes? Great questions. I'm sure that you can compete in some sports, but who you represent and in what sport is a completely different question altogether. I have no idea how that works. And then about street races, most likely no. Or if there are, they are all organized on courses. So actually, if we're talking about driving and racing, there are actually, Finland is a nation of racing. We have the most rally championships and Formula One championships per capita than any other country in the world. And driving is kind of in the DNA of Finnish people. There are definitely a lot of car racing in Finland. However, those are always organized through the official channels, and they're organized on car tracks basically. So take that into account. Then a question from Rundam Pyang, who comes from Myanmar, Burma. Cool, awesome to have you here as well. And Rundam has not decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a degree in IT and business. And the question is, I'm studying Bachelor's of Arts in Business Administration in my final year, and I want to study and live in Finland. Is there any way for me as a Myanmar citizen? Yeah, absolutely. You simply have to apply to study in Finland as would any other international student from outside the EU. So basically what you need to do is to first find the schools that you're interested in, go through the application process and the different requirements, documents that you need to attain. And then you just need to make sure to apply during the specific application periods. In your case, for master's studies, the application period happens only once per year, and it's from late December to late January. Or the exact dates vary each year, but it's usually December, January. If you are new to this topic, I highly recommend that you start going through all the videos that I have on my channel. For example, I have a playlist, named "New Want to Study in Finland? Start here." There's a bunch of videos. I can actually just show it to you, so it's a bit easier. There's a bunch of resources that you can use. So just go to the channel and start going through all of these videos. I go through how the application system works, how to find different universities, how much it actually costs to study in Finland. Everything else, tuition fees, scholarships, what are the kind of university level institutions that we have. We have kind of polytechnical schools, and then we have universities. I explain everything. Then I talk about student housing, how much it actually costs to live in Finland, etc. So start going through all of these videos, and you will have so much information here. And if you have any questions after watching those videos, just leave comments to every single video, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. David, awesome. I was talking about running races. Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So I was a bit mistaken. Say, yeah, absolutely. There are running races. The question is, of course, if you want to actually compete in official competitions, then you would need to find some kind of a club to actually represent. Most likely, you cannot represent Finland in official competitions unless before you become a Finnish citizen. This is actually how I would guess it. This is not 100% certain, but that's my guesstimate. But yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of sports opportunities, either at the university, there are kind of university student sports clubs that actually compete quite, seriously. And then there are a lot of other clubs that are, outside the school as well. However, where to find them, I'm not that aware. I haven't done sports in a club in almost 15 years. I actually used to play ice hockey all the way until the end of high school, but after that I've done most of my sports independently. So that's something. Cool. Let's see. The next question comes from again. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name. Guillaume from France. And the question is actually a long one, so let's bear with me. Hi Oliver, what is the procedure to get an apartment in Helsinki? So not student apartment, but normal apartments. For example, here in France, you must have a salary that is 3 times the price of the rent. Otherwise, you are automatically rejected. It's almost the law. If you do not make 3 times the rent, then you must know someone that makes that much, and that person must co-sign the contract as a guarantor, meaning if you don't pay the rent, that person must pay. So is it hard? So it's hard to find someone willing to co-sign outside of family and friends. So do you need a guarantor in Finland too? And how do landlords decide if they give you an apartment or not? What do they look at? And is there any systematic rules like the salary, like a salary that is 3 times the rent? Are they discriminatory with entrepreneurs since they don't have a fixed salary? Sorry for the many questions, and thank you again for the help. Don't apologize for the bunch of questions. This is the reason why I'm doing this. So just have added bring in all the questions that you have. That's the only reason why I'm doing this live stream. So thank you very much for a super interesting question. All right. So In Finland, no, you do not have to make 3 times the rent as your salary. What the landlord actually requires from you depends fully on the landlord. Some landlords will make some kind of a credit check on you to make sure that you don't have any issues with your credits or creditors, and that you actually have a job, or that they will check that you actually have a job that pays. I haven't heard that people actually require you to have a certain X, that your salary would be X something compared to your rent. I don't think that would be necessary. The only thing that you have to take into account that especially in Helsinki, rental apartments, you actually have to pay a deposit, security deposit, when you actually move in, and that the security deposit can be 2 or 3 times the monthly rent, but it cannot by law be any more. So if you are, for example, asked for 4 times the rent as the security deposit, that's going to be a really big red flag, because that's not supposed to be legal, at least as I've checked the last time a year ago. So just take that into account. Then about the guarantor, no, you do not need to have someone else guaranteeing the apartment for you. Basically, the landlords will make some checks that you are able to pay your rent. And of course, they have the right to kick you out if you do not pay your rent. So that's, something as well. The system for actually applying for apartments in Helsinki depends a bit on what kind of apartments you're looking for. So there are a bunch of different companies which rent apartments. These are really big not corporations, but really big rental companies that actually have multiple locations and buildings. And they rent out those apartments for people, and the system for them is very, very simple. So you basically go on their website, browse through their apartments like on any other website, and apply. And then of course, if there's a big queue, then there might be some it might be that you're not able to get offered every single apartment that you apply to. The requirements and what is the final deciding factor on who actually gets to rent a specific apartment depends always on the landlord. However, for example, discrimination in terms how it's defined in Finland, for example, based on nationality, language, sexuality, etc., all of that is completely illegal. And usually the landlords mostly look at your finances and make sure that you're able to pay the rent evenly and every single month on time. And then some landlords also care about the person per se, or the person itself, in terms of, okay, is the person reliable? Do I have to fix the TV, the walls and electric sockets every single month because they stick forks into them or something like this, super weird. So of course they will look into you as a person, or not look into you, but assess you as a person when they decide. Then on top of these companies that have multiple rental properties, there are most of the apartments actually in Finland are rented by private individuals who own multiple apartments. And there are a lot of different websites that kind of collect rental apartment ads into one place, and the system there is basically you either apply through the platform or, for example, via email, and the landlord might want to see you. You might have to go to the location, and I recommend that you actually go and check out the apartment before renting them. And then they might have paper contracts that they make you sign. Some for example, companies might have electronic contracts that they make you sign. The most important thing is that you always have to have a tenant agreement on paper, or at least electronic is fine as well, but you need to have proof of your tenant agreement and what the rent is, and etc. So it depends on what kind of an apartment you're looking for, from where, and through which means. The one thing that I would say to every single one of you, if you're coming to Finland to live here in any kind of terms, Finnish people will never, or Finnish landlords will never ask you to wire any money via Western Bank or Western Union or any kind of these kinds of systems. We only do direct bank transfers from account to account. So no PayPals, no crypto, no Western Unions or banks. All of those are super huge red flags, and those are definitely going to be scams. we only do in Finland, we only do direct bank transfers from account to account, because those are verifiable, and they are also, you can actually get your money back if there's a problem. So that's something that you really need to take into account. All right. Anyway, hopefully that gave you a bit of context around the topic. Really interesting question. The next question comes from Isaac from France as well. And Isaac has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a degree in engineering. And the question is it possible to get integrated into the society? Is it possible to get integrated into the Finnish society without speaking Finnish? Absolutely, yes, it is. Of course, this is going to help you, and especially if you, for example, want to at some point date Finnish people. Of course, that's going to help you, especially if you can do some, day-to-day conversations. And, you have to take into account that while the majority of Finnish people do speak very good Finnish, especially the younger generations, there are cases where you might stumble upon a person, for example, in a smaller shop where an older person might not speak that good of English. So just take that into account. But for example, if you compare, if you know how the experience is, for example, in Paris, especially for tourists, compare that to Finland, it's completely different. So in Finland, if you try to speak English to someone, they will definitely speak English back to you, and they will most likely even try to help you. And if you make mistakes, that's completely fine. While, no offense, towards Parisians, but every single time that I've been to Paris, even with my girlfriend, who speaks very good French, but she has a Belgian accent because she lived in Brussels for a couple of years. Many local people in Paris actually changed back to English with her, and then to French with me for some weird reason. I don't understand why, but yeah, definitely it's possible to integrate into the society without speaking Finnish. Isaac also saying, I'm afraid that if I go to Finland and make Finnish friends, once I am in their group and they would speak Finnish among themselves and I would be an outsider, making it hard to make Finnish friends altogether. I mean, I could befriend a Finn, but once he introduces me to his other Finnish friends, I don't expect the whole group to all change to English speaking just for me. In that case, I would be stuck with international students the whole time. What do you think? Is this a problem internationals face? It's definitely going to be something that you're going to experience at some point or to some extent. However, I would recommend that you should be as proactive as possible and just, kind of try to force people to speak English with you. And especially, of course, I'm biased. I have been grown in a very international kind of community. I've dealt with international students and with international people all my life, so I'm a bit biased in that sense. But for example, we had an international tutor group. So when I started school at Aalto, we had these tutor groups. So we have like 10 people in a group, and then we have 2 tutors, student tutors, who basically tell us how to start the studies, how everything works, and they kind of guide us through the first weeks. And we actually had an international tutor group where we had half and half. So half were internationals, half were Finns. And we basically spoke English all the time together. It doesn't matter if we had one international student and, all 5 Finnish students at the same time. And the experience has been the same basically throughout my studies. Of course, there are individual moments where, if you have like 5 Finnish people and you're the only English person, if you're talking directly with one of them, you will speak in English, and then a couple of others will change to Finnish between their personal conversation. But usually Finnish people are trying to be polite enough that to when you are included in the conversation would be done in English. So I would not worry about it. It's definitely a thing that you're going to experience to some extent, but I would not worry about it, and kind of just be as proactive as possible, and you will do just fine. However, I can say this. Learning at least some of the basic day-to-day Finnish, starting with how to introduce yourself in Finnish, and kind of understanding the Finnish culture, it's going to help a lot, because we Finns enjoy talking about Finland and we enjoy, discussing Finland with other people, and it's definitely going to be a very good icebreaker for you. And this applies to everyone if you want to, integrate into the society and get Finnish friends. Great and super important topic. Thanks for asking about it. Then the next question comes from Abhijit, who comes from India, and Abhijit has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a master's in international business. The question is, can you tell us how the situation is there currently? Is it under lockdown or everything works smoothly in this pandemic? Everything works really well. We are no longer in any kind of a pandemic. A lockdown. We haven't been in any kind of a lockdown in months, actually. Of course, the immigration to Finland is still restricted, or travel to Finland is restricted somehow, to some extent. However, inside the country, everything is going back to normal quite slowly, or step by step. Again, as I mentioned previously, the biggest differences that you can see right now compared to kind of normal life is that bars and restaurants have to close early, and there are no big public events yet. However, the government is actually lifting restrictions from those as well quite soon, so we will most likely actually have some big music festivals in Finland during the summer with some restrictions and some limits. However, I would say that Finland is one of the best countries to be in the entire world right now in this situation, because we're doing so well with the situation. Again, thanks to our really well working public sector and kind of the culture of working together to get through this. Good question though. Then the next question comes from Irfan, who comes from Pakistan, and Irfan is actually coming to Finland for work, not for school. And the Irfan is working in the application development sector. Awesome. And the question is, I'm coming to Finland on a spouse's visa. Can I work full time? And my second question is that till I'm not able to find can I work full time? Yes, you can work full time if you come on a spouse's visa, or you come on the basis of family relations. Yes, you can work full time. And actually, even if you come to Finland on the basis of a relative or a family member, you still have to be able to cover your own living costs. So you cannot come here and rely on the social security system. So you need to have enough income or savings to be able to live here without relying on any kind of social security. So take that into account. And this you have to prove your source of income or savings when you apply for a residence permit. And the second question was, during the time that I'm not able to find a job in Finland, can I work as a freelancer or do remote work, for example, to Pakistan? Yes, you can. My understanding is that yes, you can basically work as a entrepreneur or freelancer, or even do remote work. Again, you have to be able to cover your own living costs. And if you want any more details about this, I would recommend that you call or email the Finnish Immigration Service, because they are able to give you more details about this, because this is a quite a complicated topic, and I would need to go into a lot of detail, but because I'm not an immigration expert, I would rather refer you to the actual source, because they will be able to give you a more definite answer. All right. The next question from the forum comes from Irfan, and we're already into the questions this week, so don't worry about it. We're progressing fast. The next question comes from Irfan, and the question is, I will move on a spouse's visa. All right, so this was actually related to the previous one. With my wife who comes as a student to the University of Eastern Finland, and my query is regarding, can I apply as a student next year for a master's program in data sciences? If yes, what is the best universities for masters in data sciences? As a general rule of thumb, Aalto University, which is in Helsinki, so quite far from the University of Eastern Finland, Aalto is the best university for data sciences. However, if I've understood correctly, the University of Eastern Finland also has a very good program in this. Not 100% sure, but you need to check it out. Yes, my understanding is that you can apply for a student to study in Finland. However, you have to go through the same application process that everyone else goes, and you would then need to apply for a student residence permit as well. So you cannot study on the residence permit that you have based on your family ties. So you have to go through the exact same process as everyone else goes as a Pakistani citizen, so as a non-European Union citizen. So just take that into account. But yeah, definitely you can apply. All right, the next question from Twan Steg comes from Twan Stege. Twan Stege. let's say Twan Stege from the Netherlands, butchering your last name, I'm sorry about that. And Twan is starting school this semester at the Laurea University of Applied Sciences, doing a bachelor's in security. Awesome. Congratulations on the admission. And the question is, if HOAS can't offer you a furnished apartment as an exchange student, which other websites or organizations can be used to find a place to live? What I would recommend you to do is to, instead of looking for other organizations for apartment, because there's actually not that many in the Helsinki area, apartment from HOAS, I would simply apply for a non-furnished apartment and then just get secondhand furniture there. It's going to be way, way, way cheaper compared to actually applying for an apartment from the private market. If you're interested in learning from where you can actually find secondhand furniture, I have a video about this topic on my channel. Just go to the channel page and search how to save money. And in that video, I actually go through a couple of companies that sell secondhand furniture for really cheap. So don't just apply for furnished apartments, but also, accept unfurnished if they are available, because that's still going to be way cheaper than if you apply, for an apartment through the private sector. Then the next question comes from Marina Carengnato, who comes from Italy. And Marina is already a regular on the channel, which I do appreciate. And Marina is starting school this semester at the Aalto University School of Business, doing a master's in economics. Awesome. Welcome to Aalto as well. It's a great school, and you're going to enjoy your time there. And the question is, hey, Oliver, I'm moving to Finland next August, and I got an apartment offer in the Lintuvaara area. Do you have any thoughts on this neighborhood? Let's see. I am not actually aware of the area. Let's see. Marina, if you are still live, would you mind actually letting me know from where did you actually get the apartment offer? Was it from HOAS or, for example, from AYY? Because that will give me a bit more context. All right, so I'm actually looking at this on Google Maps. So maybe I just show this to you. So Lintuvaara is actually a bit northwest from the center of Helsinki, which is here, and the Otaniemi campus, in which Aalto University is actually here. And if you look at Lintuvaara and then you just look at directions to Otaniemi with public transportation, that's 20 minutes. That's absolutely nothing, and actually you can get there with just one bus. So actually that's really, really close. Just as a reference, if you live where I live in Jätkäsaari district. Whoops, sorry, excuse me, it's a bit slow. So I actually live in the Jätkäsaari district, which is really close to the center of Helsinki, which is here. And actually the distance between this place and Otaniemi, even though we actually have a metro connection, it takes the same amount of time, or a couple of minutes less. So basically Lintuvaara is a great location in terms of commuting, at least. I've never actually been there myself, so I can't comment on the area, on the quality, but it actually seems that it's actually not that far. Let me check one more time super quickly. What's up, Sanjay? Welcome to the stream as well. Hopefully you're doing fine. It's actually next to Konala. All right, it's a good place. Yeah, it's actually next to Leppävaara and Konala, which I know. It's actually a very nice place. I would highly recommend that you accept the offer if you haven't yet done so. Definitely. Then Marina also saying, as the apartment is unfurnished, I've been looking for some secondhand shops in Espoo, and Fida seems to be a good option. I couldn't check the other stores because all the websites are in Finnish. Could you provide recommendations for that? Yeah. So this is actually one of the problems with many of the secondhand shops in Finland. Because many of them have their website only in Finnish, which sucks. A couple of recommendations. One, actually Aalto University campus has a secondhand furniture shop from where you can actually buy furniture. In the video where I talk about saving money, which is on the channel, I actually list out this Facebook page. I don't remember the name. So go to the channel and look for how to save money, and you will see one video where I list all the secondhand furniture shops. Go to the description of that video, and actually there I have the links to those groups and Facebook page and the websites there. So that's my first recommendation. And the second recommendation, simply to kind of use those Finnish pages, is to download and install the Google Translate plugin to your browser, which will allow you to translate the entire page live when you actually go to the web stores, and that gives you a bit help in terms of browsing the websites. I think that's the best those are the best options that I can give you right now. It really sucks that the websites are not in English, but nothing that I can do about that, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully that gave you at least a couple of ideas how to do this. And about Lintuvaara, definitely accept the offer. It's very close to the campus, very good location. Cool. All right. The next question comes from Harsh Agarwal, who comes from India and is applying to Aalto University in the next application period, doing a bachelor's in computer sciences. Awesome. And the question is, please suggest me some universities for studying undergraduate computer science in Finland. Aalto University, I think the University of Turku has a program. The University of Oulu, I think, might have a program. No, sorry, that does not have one. The University of Eastern Finland, I think, might have had one. To be honest, I don't remember all the programs by heart, so I cannot give you a more detailed answer here. I'm going to make a video about this topic very soon, where I actually have a full list of all the programs available in Finland. So, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so, and I will let you know when that video is online. But yeah, there's more than 500 programs in English in Finland, so naturally I can't remember all of them by heart, so I would need to actually make that video first to give you an answer. All right, the next question comes from Viam Mulay, who comes from India, and he has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in the University of Eastern Finland and Aalto University. And he's interested in a master's in AI or machine learning. Nice, awesome. And the question is, I am a high school student from India and want to study AI or machine learning in Finland. I'm kind of confused between Finland and Canada, not able to decide which is the best one for me. One of my friends told me that Finland isn't a good job market for foreign students, i.e. Finnish employers only try to employ Finnish people. Is this true? And what are the odds that I will get a job in Finland after studying master's degree in AI or machine learning in Finland? Plus, stay safe and keep uploading these valuable videos. Thank you very much for the positive feedback, and thanks for the great question. And yeah, so there's a couple of things here that I want to touch. So first of all, it is true that the Finnish job market is challenging for international students, and especially recent international graduates. There is a lot of work being put into this to improve this, and the thing is that we need more international talent in Finland in the future, and this is one of the reasons why I'm actually doing the channel, and I'm trying to also help you guys speed up your job hunting processes, because it's not easy, especially in the beginning. However, I have to say that there are specific fields in which finding a job in Finland without knowing any Finnish is definitely easier. And one of the best ones actually is specifically AI and machine learning. And if you are, of course, as a disclaimer, it doesn't matter what you study and what kind of a degree you have unless you know what you're doing and unless people want to work with you. So if you are a D-bag or you simply are really bad at what you do, people will not hire you anyways. However, if you are proficient at what you do, having a degree in AI and machine learning is going to be awesome. These guys are paid super high salaries, and they can basically, there's actually kind of a cliche that AI graduates in AI and machine learning can basically choose for whom they work for, because there's such a small amount of people who actually know this stuff. As a funny example, we actually have a technology startup that I'm actually leading. We do indoor or vertical farming technologies and automated technologies, and we actually are going to hire a AI and machine learning expert next year. And I'm completely desperate about this because I know that there's so few people in Finland who actually know this or are really good at these things. And I actually hope that maybe one of you guys who come to Finland to study these topics, maybe you would be interested in working for us at some point in the future. Again, one of the reasons why I'm actually doing this channel, to get to know awesome people from abroad who come to Finland to work and to study really interesting fields. And our company is going to hire a lot of people in the future. So and AI, automation, robotics, all of this kind of stuff is going to be super important for us in the future. So just, as an example. However, kind of commenting on one more thing here, your friend saying that Finnish employers only try to employ Finnish people, that's absolutely not true. The thing is that some Finnish companies still have Finnish as their official working language. And the problem here is, or the reason for this is that they have had this for decades, and they have all of their documentation, everything, all the software, everything is still in Finnish, and it takes quite a lot of time for them to change the language of work language into English, because they have to change everything. They have to translate everything. And if you think about like a company that has 200 people, they have 30 years of experience and 30 years of documents and customer information, and they have to change everything into English. That takes time. So that's one of the problems that many Finnish companies have. But there are plenty of companies, especially in technology and especially in software development, that do not care a rat's ass about whether or not you speak Finnish or not, and especially whether or not you're a Finnish national. They don't care at all about that. That no one cares about whether or not you're Finnish. Rather, some companies care about whether or not you speak Finnish, because you might need Finnish in your job. However, technology sector and especially software development, they are the best fields to work as an international student or graduate, because most companies have that deal in or work in these sectors, they have English as their official working language. So there. So absolutely there are challenges, but it's definitely possible to find a job here. Of course, I'm biased here. I would say Finland, but of course Canada is a beautiful country. It's a great country as well. Finland and Canada, actually, we have many similarities here. So I think that this is going to be your personal choice fully, and I just want to give our side of things, and then you have to make an informed decision about this topic. Cool. All right. Anyway, the next question comes from a Discord server member. Awesome. And the Discord member has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a master's in software engineering at Aalto University. And the question is, there's a couple, so let's go through these one by one. Number one, I am interested in studying a master's in software engineering in Finland and eventually get a job and a permanent residency. And my question is that how much time does it take to get a permanent residency in Finland after completing my master's? Just a rough guess. If I remember correctly, it takes 4 years for you to be able to apply for a permanent residency, and then of course the application takes a while. But if I remember correctly, it's 4 years. The problem is that if you do a degree in Finland, the time that you spend here studying full time is also at least partially counted towards that the amount of time. So that's why I'm not quite sure if it's exactly 4 years or is it 3 or 2 years or something like this. But it's between 2 and 4 years from when you actually graduate and get a job to when you can actually apply for a permanent residency. Let's see. Let's see. The next question. A few of my friends suggested Canada instead of Finland. Same here. So the same thing here. So should I opt for Canada instead of Finland? Again, I'm completely biased here. Of course, I would recommend Finland. We are the best country in many things. We are the happiest country in the world. There's so many different benefits in Finland, that Finland has. But of course, again, as I mentioned, Finland and Canada, we have a lot of similarities. The positive thing about Canada is that English is the official language there. So that's definitely a bonus. But then again, it depends on what you want. There are also quite a bit of differences between Canada and Finland. Canada is also more expensive, especially in the bigger cities than what Finland is. What else? Can't really say anything else here because I'm not that well versed in Canada as a place to live in. However, I would say that it's a personal choice, of course. I'm trying to push Finland on you guys because I love it here. I would love to actually live in Canada at some point, but I would always come back to Finland at some point. Anyways. Then the third, how is the work culture there, work-life balance and stuff? Oh, actually, this is one of the things, one of the reasons why I really recommend Finland, because we have in Finland, work-life balance is super important. So not only is it possible and actually recommended that in Finland, if you have kids and if you have a family, you need to have a good work-life balance. We have some of the longest maternity and paternity leaves in the entire world. And in Finland, having a really good work-life balance is super, super important, even though if you work for a really big company, like a consultancy company, especially if you work for a software development company, they take care of their employees and make sure that the work-life balance is great. So that is actually definitely one of the reasons why I would recommend Finland to everyone, because once you get integrated into the society, once you get a job, you're absolutely going to love it here, because the work-life balance here is super, super important for people. And actually a lot of people actually move to Finland from, for example, California and the US in general, to work for the same companies as they work for in the States, but they love it in Finland because of the work-life balance that they have here. It's something, the work is something that we don't like to stress about in Finland. It's something that we do, but then we want to have a life of our own on top of it. Then for last question, is Finland pet friendly, i.e. are pets allowed in public transports, etc.? Yes, Finland is very pet friendly. Pets are allowed in public transportations. I think you asked about this in the Discord server as well. The only thing that you have to take into account when you travel, for example, with metro or train or long distance buses, is that you have to make sure that either the metro and train cart is pet friendly. So there are train carts that do not allow pets, simply because some people are allergic or are afraid of dogs, for example. So there are special carts into which you can actually take your dog, for example. Then if you use a long distance bus, make sure that is also pet friendly. There might be some shifts that do not allow pets in, but as a general rule of thumb, Finland is very, very pet friendly. For example, we have a dog and we love it, and we might actually be getting a second one at some point. Cool. The next question comes from Bonfire. Finally, you have been asking about this for a while now, so hopefully you're still online. But yeah, the next question comes from Bonfire from India, and Bonfire has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a master's in computer sciences at the University of Eastern Finland. And there's a couple of questions here. Starting with, hey Oliver, hopefully you're doing good. Thank you very much. I am actually doing quite well. Got vaccinated yesterday. Super excited about that. I can start finally having kind of going back to my normal life, going out with my friends, especially now that the weather is beautiful, for an after work beer or something like that. Just love it. And then let's see. I hopped to the live stream after seeing the community post on YouTube. Awesome. Nice to hear that those are actually having an impact. Just a couple of general questions. Number one, does the Wi-Fi suck? No, Finland actually has some of the best internet connections in the world. Excuse me, got something in my throat. Right, so actually Finland has some of the best internet connections and cheapest internet connections in the world. So again, for example, for me, I have a personal plan on my iPhone is a unlimited 4G plan, so I can use as much 4G as possible as I want. I think it's 250 megabytes speed. In addition, I have unlimited phone calls and texts, and the same actually applies to Finland, Sweden, the other Nordic nations, as well as other Baltic countries as well, and that's 20 euros a month. So that's super cheap, and the internet is awesome. It's great. So the reason why actually Finland is one of the best countries in terms of the internet is because of Nokia. So for those of you who don't know, Nokia, the old phone manufacturer, they are actually one of the pioneering companies behind many internet, behind the internet, for example, and they're one of the biggest developers of 5G networks. And one of the reasons why we have such good networks is that not only is the field highly regulated, so the prices cannot be forced that high, like in many other countries. They are actually forced to stay quite low through competition and regulation, but also because we have a very, very highly efficient internet infrastructure, and you can find internet anywhere that you go. Buildings don't interrupt your internet connectivity, etc. So it's really, really nice. In addition, what is really cool is that when you get a student apartment, most student apartment providers actually include a very high-speed internet into your rent. So, for example, we have a 150 megabyte internet, high-speed internet included in our rent. So that is awesome. So I actually we don't have to pay anything extra for that, and I don't have to use a hotspot from my phone when I'm at home. So internet, Finland is one of the best countries for that, absolutely. Question: Do we have good burger joints? Depends on what your benchmark is. So if you come from the US, I think that it's not the same. But I would say that we do have good burger joints. Depends on what you're looking for. Of course, McDonald's is quite common in Finland, but we also have some local variants as well. But of course, then we have some a lot of more higher end burger places which are really, really nice. So kind of this artisanship cooking and burgers that's a big thing in Finland. Is the EDM scene good in Finland? As I'm a part-time EDM producer. Actually, interesting question. So I don't know anything about EDM except that the EDM scene in Finland is great. I don't think we have any really big EDM producers, globally. In Finland, but I've understood that, for example, some of the summer music festivals that we have in EDM in Finland are really, really awesome. And a lot of my friends are actually EDM nerds per se, and they go to a lot of festivals, music festivals during the summer. The summer is basically our music festival time period, and they really love it. So I can speak to myself. I'm more of a rock and roll man or rock and roll person. I listen a lot of rock, metal, blues, and jazz, for example. So EDM is not really my thing. The food, how is the food? Depends on what you like, but I think that the Finnish food culture is really cool, and it has been developing a lot, especially during the recent years. For example, how you can see this is that in Helsinki, capital region, there's a huge food scene and it's been growing rapidly during the last few years. Not only do we have more, for example, bars and pubs that actually do craft beer and craft whiskey is a really big thing in Finland, especially with students. But also, craft food, really small kind of artisan type of restaurants. They are booming in Helsinki. Of course, the pandemic has hit them quite hard, but the food culture has been grown in Finland recently, and I really love it. It's really cool. How is the tech scene or the startup culture? Actually, funny thing, there's actually been statistics that Finland is drawing the most money, VC, venture capital money, per capita. I'm not sure how they're calculated in the world. So basically, Finland is considered as one of the best places for startups to grow in because we have such an efficient, very active startup culture and tech scene, especially. There are a huge amount of technology startups, also companies in renewables and sustainable technology from Finland, and Finnish companies are sucking investor money right now. It's absolutely crazy how much money companies in Finland are actually sucking in, basically stealing the money from Silicon Valley at this point. So tech scene, startup scene, absolutely awesome. And again, as I mentioned, I am actually a founder in a technology startup that it's quite early stage right now, but we're actually there's a lot of really cool stuff happening, and if you're interested, I can just send me a message on Discord, and I can send you a couple of links where you can check them out. And then I read somewhere that access to internet is a human right in Finland. Is that true? That's basically true. So for example, if you want to use free internet, you can just go to a public library and use the internet there. And again, access to internet as a human right is basically, that means that, the prices for internet subscriptions are super low. So basically, no matter who you are, you should have access to high-speed internet anywhere you go. So in a sense, that's very much true. And then lastly, how to have a warm subscriber base like you? I don't know. Maybe have I don't know. You tell me. I'm just talking and helping you guys. I guess you need to tell me how to have such a warm subscriber base and community like you guys. Love you guys. Talking of which, we're currently at 39 likes, and while I will take a grab of or grab a drink, I would really appreciate if any one of you new guys who just joined the stream could gently, or if you like to be more aggressive, gently or tap or smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm to let the algorithm know that you are appreciating the stream and getting some value out of it. Drink. Awesome. Excuse me. All right, before I jump into the next question in the form, super quickly, I will just jump back into the chat, go through a couple of the last messages. So Sudha saying, please tell us something about the scope of the studies as a dentist and how to apply for practice in Finland. Absolutely no idea. This is a very all the degrees in the healthcare sector are highly regulated, and I have no idea how they work. And I recommend that you start simply by Googling information about this. But my guesstimate is that you cannot study to become a dentist in Finland in English, simply because it's in the healthcare sector, which is many of the degrees are only in Finnish. So take that into account. Maggie Joe saying, student working part-time, do I need to pay tax? Yes, you need to pay tax if you work even for 1 hour in Finland. And you need to have a tax card, which you can get very easily in just a few minutes from the Finnish tax administrator. Just Google Finnish tax card or Finland tax card, and you will get the right links from Google. And yes, you need to pay tax if you work in Finland. Do note that we have a progressive taxation system. So if you only work part-time, you will actually not pay that much tax here. So that's cool. And do note that taxes are deducted automatically from your salary. So you basically do a tax card in where you basically inform the tax administration of an estimate of how much money you will make during the year and all the deductions that you could use, for example. And then you get a tax percentage. And then you deliver that tax card to your employer, and they will then deduct taxes from your salary and pay them, submit them automatically to the tax administration on your behalf, based on the tax card that you received. So you don't, as a employee, you don't have to pay your taxes individually, like for example what you would need to do in the US. So that's really cool. It's all automatic. Zyro Lord asking, have you already answered my Google form question? It's not really convenient to find answers to our questions. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure, depending on what the question actually was. I've gone through almost 50 questions already today, so take that into account. Then Chris asking a really good question, and another quick one. Are food and beverage jobs easy to apply to? A friend of mine would like to study a bachelor's in business and has been working in Chili's, a restaurant, for over 2 years now. Excuse me. So yeah, definitely if you want to work part-time, for example, in a restaurant or a cafeteria or a bar, that's definitely possible. But you have to take into account that most of those jobs require you to have what is called a hygiene passport. Or a hygiene license. So basically you need to get certified. It's actually not that difficult, and it's not expensive, but you have to take this into account, that you need to get a certification to actually handle food in Finland before you can actually work in this kind of jobs. But yeah, definitely you could work in a cafeteria, for example, part-time, a great job, usually quite flexible hours, moderately good pay, and you know, a lot of people like these kind of jobs, especially part-time alongside their studies. Excuse me. Let's see. Then we have Blue Resolve saying, for some reason seeking a career change at master's level, are there availabilities or are there any available preparatory programs to cover fundamentals for such an applicant before the master's program? Depends on the master's that you're applying for, but these are quite rare, to be honest. But depends on you and the actual career that you're or the degree that you have done and the degree that you want to do or want to apply for. But I haven't looked into that so much, so I can't really help that much in this topic. Then Gaurav is asking, do we all have to share the same kitchen in shared student apartments? If we're talking about shared student apartments, yes, then you will have a shared kitchen. However, there are multiple other student apartment types where you have your own kitchen, so you know, just take that into account. Then Srujit is saying, hey Oliver, the Google form is glitching, it doesn't allow me to fill in. All right, Srujit, if that is the case, please write your question into the chat and just ping me there, and I will answer your question there when I see you that you have pinged me, because I will see my name in a bright color, so I will notice your question. Sorry for the technical issues. Justin Halen say, why are you people obsessed with saunas? So actually, Justin, that's an interesting question. So saunas, I'm not sure if you know this, but sauna is actually from a Finnish thing. It's a Finnish invention, and it's engraved super deep into our culture, and it's just so relaxing. I'm not sure if you have ever been to a sauna, and if you have been to a sauna, you most likely have never been to a real Finnish sauna. So there is a distinction here. I can tell you that. And especially during summer, during the long evenings, especially in midsummer, when the sun doesn't really go below the horizon, and it gets quite mild and nice in the evenings, and it's completely quiet. You know, on the lake side, there's a beautiful lake, pristine water, and you know, the surface of the lake is like a mirror, and it's like from a painting. You go to a sauna, in a hot sauna, and you know, it helps your blood flow, for example. And then you go outside, have a beer, and go swimming. It's the most relaxing thing ever, and especially it's really actually relaxing after you know, doing really hard sports. Of course, you have to remember to rehydrate, but it's just a way for us to relax, especially, you know, during the summer, and then of course during the winter when it's colder. There's kind of two different things here. During the summer, it's more of like relaxing at the cottage, going to swim from the sauna, and then during the winter it's more, you know, relaxing after a cold day. You have to experience a Finnish sauna yourself to actually understand it, but it's so deeply engraved into the Finnish society that it's hard to understand without actually experience it. Then we have Eternal Boss saying, hi, have attended every single live stream, but you have never answered my question. I did not know that, but I would like to remind you, Eternal Boss, that if you have not posted your question into the Google form, then that is most likely the reason why I have not yet answered your question. If you post your question into the chat, it is highly likely that I will either miss your question, or it will take me such a long time to answer your question that you will just leave the stream, and when I answer your question you will not notice. So I sometimes I jump back and forth, but I always prioritize the questions in the form. So please post your questions in the form if you want to make sure that I will answer your question. Then Maggie saying, thanks a lot. Your platform is so informative and very helpful. Thank you very much, Maggie. That's very highly appreciated. Thank you for hanging out. And then we have Not Tien Le asking, do universities of applied sciences have full scholarships? Depends on the school. So not all universities or universities of applied sciences offer full scholarships. Some do, some do not. Each scholarship is school specific and program specific, so please check the university websites or University of Applied Sciences websites for specific information. Then Chris saying, I see here in Peru we have the same or something similar, a food handling permit renewable every 6 months. Yeah, that's basically the same. I'm not sure how often you need to renew it or update it, but it's definitely something that you need to have. And I think that might actually be Europe-wide in kind of having the same regulations. Then Zylord, I think you already made a video about this, but how much should you have saved if you are moving to Finland for studies? 1 year worth of rent and food, or something else. I will check the video really quickly. Yeah, so basically, I have a video about this, but basically you need to have 560 euros per month on your account before you apply for a residence permit for a student. So that's 560 times 12, so that's 6,720 euros at minimum on your bank account when you apply for a residence permit. If you apply for a 2-year permit, then you need to have double that. So that's 13,440 euros. So take that into account. Good question. Eternal Boss asking, what do you think about Sweden versus Finland versus Norway versus Denmark? Impossible to say. I've only been to Sweden and Denmark. I've never been to Norway. Well, I've been over the border, but I've never lived there. It depends on what you mean, versus, depending on the topic, education, culture. What do you mean? Plus, I don't have enough experience about any of these countries to give you a insightful answer. All the Nordic countries, which, all of these are Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland. We're very, very similar in our culture, in the education system, in cost as well. Our cost of living is quite the same. Norway is the most expensive, etc. So I would need to know, what do you mean versus what? Then what else? We have Chris, saunas are live. They are live. I had a gym membership, and when we had a dry and steamy sauna, really relaxing. Absolutely. And Chris, do remember that if you have a dry sauna at the gym, it's actually not a real Finnish sauna, so that's also a different thing. So just take that into account. Especially if you have a wooden stove instead of an electric one, it's completely different as an experience. And then David saying, in Hungary we have saunas and cooling baths, which within the spa culture, but due to the COVID I couldn't go to the sauna for several months. Yeah, that's basically the same here. Although most of the public saunas are already open in Finland, so that's really cool. All right, the next question comes from the forum, comes from Montana Barua, who comes from India. And Montana is interested in, is coming to Finland for work, not for school, and is interested in a field in sustainability. Awesome. Really love it. I actually work in a sustainable tech company, so that's really cool. The question is, hey Oliver, hope you're doing well. Thank you very much. I am doing well. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Hopefully you are safe and healthy. I intend to relocate to Espoo, which is a city west of Helsinki, alongside my spouse with their visa. I have 8 years of experience in the banking sector, working as an assistant manager in a reserve bank in India. But I'm looking for a job in the sustainability sector, as I am more inclined towards climate change, environment, and sustainability related jobs. Although I am open for a job in finance too. Moreover, I am open to doing any short-term courses that will help me get a job in both sectors, and I have completed a bachelor's in commerce, PDG in management, and a few certificate courses in sustainability. Any suggestions is welcome. Montana, actually, this is a very interesting topic, and I would love to have a discussion with you. So what I recommend you to do is that instead of me trying to give you a couple of minute long answer here, please contact me via LinkedIn. There's a link to my LinkedIn profile in the description box below. So send me a contact request, and please attach a short message saying that, hey, it's Montana from the live stream, would like to talk about a career in sustainability in Finland, and let's have a chat there, because I would love to help you with this. The technology startup that I am working on is actually in a sustainable sector, and I actually did my master's thesis on sustainability or sustainable startups, so this is very close to my heart. So Montana, connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's continue the discussion over there, because I will be able to help you a bit more in longer format. Anyway, the next question from the forum comes from Nandeshwara PM from India, and excuse me. And he has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a master's in finance or business administration at Aalto University or the University of Helsinki. And the question is, I want to know about MBA programs, and also, is it worth for an international student in Finland? Right. So the one thing here that you need to know is that MBAs are very, very rare in Finland. We, as a general rule of thumb, we don't do MBAs in Finland. We do master's degrees in Finland. So for example, if you want to do a master's level degree, so if you have an undergraduate degree and you want to study at Aalto or the University of Helsinki, they do not offer MBAs. They offer master's degrees in finance or, for example, in business administration. Excuse me. However, I need to make a distinction here. The University of Helsinki does not have a business school, so they do not offer master's degrees in finance, so you would need to be looking at Aalto University. MBAs are a supplementary degree in Finland, meaning that those are usually done by people who have a undergraduate and a graduate degree, and they have 10-15 years of work experience in their field, and they or their employer want them to go and do a supplementary, an additional degree to help them grow them as a professional. However, if you come from a bachelor's degree or an undergraduate degree, you basically never do an MBA. We only do master's degrees. There's a big difference here. So take that into account. So to the question, is it worth doing a master's degree in master's level degree in finance in Finland, or is it worth it? Absolutely yes. Nothing else to add here. It's definitely worth doing one. I have plenty of friends who have done a master's in finance, and they're doing really well, no matter what company they're working for. Many people working in finance, consultancies, private equity, etc. So absolutely yes. All right, the next question from the forum comes from Aniket Putani, who comes from India and is a regular on the channel, which is awesome. And Aniket is applying to Aalto University to do a master's in engineering. And the question is, I am pursuing my last year of bachelor's, and in May 2022, my graduation will be done. So I need to apply this year, so in order to apply for a master's at Aalto, for the 2022 intake, do I need to apply this year or after completing my bachelor's? Great question. So basically, we have master's applications in Finland happen once a year, and they happen between December and January. So the application period opens in December and ends in January. However, the application, you don't have to have your degree completed by the end of that application period, but rather the application period, which is again 2 months, is simply so that you can fill the application form, you can get all the required application documents, etc. But then you can still graduate from your previous degree in the spring. But then you will have a very specific deadline by which you need to submit your degree certificate from your undergraduate to your university in Finland if you want to continue with the application. So for example, if you look at, excuse me. I think I'm talking too fast and too much. So if I actually give you a super quick example, so if you just Google Aalto Master's Engineering and you go to Master's Program in Mechanical Engineering, it doesn't matter which specific program it is, it's the same schedule or the same deadlines basically. And you go to how to apply. And please note that these are the deadlines for this year. So these are going to be updated for next year a bit later this year. So this is the schedule for the applicants who start school in September 2021. So for those who apply for 2022 or later, your deadlines will be updated at the end of the year, so before the application opens up again. So for example, here you can actually see that here you can actually see that this year you would have to have graduated from your undergraduate degree or from your bachelor's degree by the 31st of July. And then you need to submit your certificate. Degree certificate has to arrive at the University Admission Services via post by August 9th. So you can see that you have plenty of time to send your degree certificate to the school in Finland after your graduation in your home country, even if you get the graduation in May. So there. Hopefully that answered your question. Chris Quevedo, thank you so much for the super chat. That is highly appreciated. Just pen once again. Let's see. Again, the local currency. Let's see. I think it was Sol, wasn't it? Pen currency. That was yes, Sol. I think that was it. 10 Sol, thank you so much for the super chat. That's highly appreciated. Chris saying, FYI, there is a Discord server for Q&A. Oliver does a superb job answering questions when it's not precisely his responsibility. Thanks, Chris. That is highly appreciated. That's very much appreciated. Definitely, if you guys are not yet a member of our Discord server, I have a link in the chat right now. It's totally free of charge. There's no, tricks or anything like that. I'm basically just building a community of people who are interested in living, studying, and working in Finland. And basically, the idea of the server is to give me a platform to answer people's questions in more long-form manner, especially since a lot of people have the same questions. And I only need to answer the questions once, and then I can always link people to the previous questions there, and it's just easier for me to manage the questions there. Plus, it's actually really nice because we already have more than 550 members there. So that means that many of the questions that you might have, other people have an answer to. For example, if you talk about the application process to a specific school, it's highly likely that there's already someone else in the server who applied to the same school as you, and they already have the answer to your question. So definitely join the server if that's something that you're interested in. So that's sun in English. That's true. That's a good point. Cool. Then next question comes from Zai Lord, who comes from Slovakia. And Zai Lord is still in high school and is interested in a bachelor's in computer sciences, for example, anything technical. It says here, but is interested in Aalto University. Awesome. And the question is, how hard is it get to Aalto? Like if I'm learning Finnish and know it a bit already, my average grade is B plus out of B plus or A minus, and I work a lot on my knowledge of the thing I'm going to study, programming, for example. Is this what I described average competition, or what do you think? So this is a very difficult topic for me to answer, and providing your own grades doesn't really help, because you always have to put them into the context of Finland, and you have to take into account that people apply from all around the world, and you have to kind of change your grades into an international standard, basically, to be able to compare all the grades between different countries, even if they have the same system, even if they have like A's and B pluses and or from 0 to 10, or grades from 0 to 5 or whatever. They also always need to be transcribed into an international format for us to be able to compare them. Anyhow, that doesn't really matter, just making a point. It's not easy to get into Aalto. It's definitely possible, and for example, in the community, there's tens of people who have already gotten to study in Aalto, even with a full scholarship. So that's really cool. Different case for you because you're from Slovakia. However, if you work hard in high school, if you get good grades, if you work hard on your SATs, which you most likely have to do, and if you if you work hard, on your English, you should have really good chances. So I have to you have to take into account that your Finnish language skills do not matter when you apply for an English language degree. The only things that really matter are your high school grades, your SAT scores, and your English language proficiency test scores, if you have to do one. For example, in the case if you apply for bachelor's in computer sciences at Aalto, I think that you have to take the SATs, but you don't have to take an additional language proficiency test. So if you are, a good student and you work hard, and you work hard on the SATs and you work hard on your English, absolutely yes, it's totally possible to get into Aalto. It's not easy. It's the best university in this field. And for example, for me, getting into Aalto School of Business was not easy. I had to try twice. But it's definitely worth it working hard, because it's a great school. They have such a great community and the campus is just awesome. And actually saying that try putting Zaho in a translator app so you hear how to pronounce it. It's a Slovak word, so you can pronounce it more easily, because it's clearly a struggle to pronounce it. I will definitely do that. Thanks for letting me know. I will definitely try that before the next week's live stream. Thanks for that. Cool. Creator Wizard, what's up? Justin, welcome. Hey man, welcome to the stream. Well, just letting everyone know, Justin is basically a mentor of mine on YouTube, an awesome dude from the States. And if I'm sorry, just an awesome dude. And I'm actually getting really tired. If you for some reason are interested in actually creating a channel on YouTube, if there are any people interested in this kind of a career choice, Justin's channel, Creator Wizard, is an excellent source of information for anyone. I actually know that there are a couple of people here interested in doing YouTube. Not sure if anyone is live right now, but what's up, Justin? Awesome to have you here. Hopefully you're doing fine. I'm sweating. It's so hot in the studio right now. It's almost 25 degrees Celsius in Finland right now. Jet Gotti asking, any thoughts on Espoo city, especially the Kilo area? That's a good question. Kilo, well, not really. I've never been there really before. I've been there, but I've never lived there myself. Espoo Espoo in general is a really nice city. However, you have to consider that it's a really big city. And for example, we are looking at multiple neighborhoods with my girlfriend because we are looking for an apartment, our own first apartment for next year. And Espoo is something definitely that we're considering. But Kilo in itself as a neighborhood, I'm not that well aware of. So just take that into account. Sanjit actually saying, what's the channel name? Creator Wizard. So check Creator Wizard on YouTube. Justin is awesome. Especially, by the way, check out Justin's live streams. They're so packed with information. Super kind of practical, useful information for anyone who is interested in a career in YouTube, which is definitely awesome. Anyway, sidetracking here. Sorry, noticing someone familiar in the chat. The next question was from Aiden from Thailand. Aiden is still in high school, is interested in a degree in dentistry. Cool. The question is, hi, my plan is to study a bachelor's degree in dentistry in Thailand, and then I'm going to move to Finland. My question is, do I have to study a degree in Finland before taking a license test to get to work as a dentist in Finland, or can I just go to Finland, take a test, and get a position in a hospital or a clinic? And is the test in English or Finnish? That's a good question. I have to say that I'm not sure. I have to say that I'm not sure. The problem here is that the problem here is basically that the healthcare sector in Finland is highly regulated, and you need to first of all you need to be able to speak Finnish at least on, I think, B2 level in order to work in the healthcare sector in Finland. And secondly, you most likely need to either do some supplementary courses or you need to at least take some kind of a test in order to get certified to work in Finland. However, I'm pretty sure that you cannot come to Finland and just start working here with a foreign degree, but you have to get certified somehow. How this works in terms of dentistry, I don't know. There is actually, if you want to check this out, super quickly, just trying to find the correct page. Yeah, so if you want to find more information about this and actually send an email to the correct person or the correct source, the Finnish Dental Association is actually the source that you should be looking for, and send them an email here. Send them an email to this address at the top bottom right corner right here. Whoops. Right, this one. It's toimisto@hammaslääkäriliitto.fi. It's the Finnish email, but send them an email about this and ask them what kind of a certification do you actually need to get, and they will be able to give you an answer, definite answer to this, because they are basically representing all dentists, professional dentists in Finland, and they should have someone who actually has the answer to this question, and that's what I recommend you to do. These are very difficult questions for me to answer because the healthcare sector, the education sector, especially these two, are very heavily regulated in Finland, and we have very high bar on the quality here, and you have to get certified and know the Finnish language enough to actually serve the customers. So that's kind of a problem for many international students here. Cool. Let's see, what else do we have? Once again, I ask, like Jet Koti is saying in the chat, I ask patience for everyone in the chat. I am going through the questions as fast as I can, but I'm trying to provide as much information to each of you as possible. There were more questions today than normal, so it's gonna take me a while for me to actually get through everything. Do note that I never skip any questions unless they're unless they're basically nasty. I'm going to go through the questions in the order that they came in. If you want to get your question answered faster, there's two ways to do this. First, you have to be in the live stream early and post your question right away. Second, you can be in the Discord server, and when I let people know that I'm going live in an hour, you can already post your question at that time, and then you will be able to get your question answered faster. Or actually, three, if you are busy and you want to get your question answered right away, you can actually send a super chat or super sticker, and I will prioritize those as well. So that's you support me with the channel, and then I will give you the answer faster. But if not, then please just stay patient. Cool. The next question comes from Sofiane from Morocco. And by the way, I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I remember I struggled with this last week. Sofiane, Sofian or Sofiane. Just let me know in the chat, for example. Anyway, he's from Morocco, not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in a bachelor's in architecture at Aalto University. Awesome. And the question is, from where can I get some examples of entrance exams to Aalto University of Arts and Design? Thank you. Unless Aalto University has exams on their website, there is no source for you to get examples of prior exams to this. The reason for this is that Aalto University simply doesn't publicize the exams, especially not the last stage questions or the topics. So unless they have examples on their website, then there's really no place for you to go. And I really would not trust anyone online, even if they say that they have the questions. The reason being that the entrance exams to the arts and design field, they change every single year, and the topics can change really heavily. So I would not take advice from anyone if they say that I know what they're going to ask this year. Not going to be true. Anyway, the next question comes from Behlah, who comes from Pakistan, and he is still in high school, but is interested in doing a vocational training. in specifically business. And the question is, hey Oliver, do vocational training universities ask for your college or high school certificates? And are there English-based vocational institutions? So I remember we talked about this last week as well, and this is actually a difficult question for me, because I'm not quite sure what do you mean with a vocational university. So we have, again, what we call universities of applied sciences, which are basically vocational universities, or they're more practical than universities. So we have universities of applied sciences, and we have universities. Universities are more theoretical, and they are based more on academic research, while universities of applied sciences are a bit more practical. They're also universities per se, but they're more practical. Then, however, we don't really have any kind of vocational universities per se. We do have a lot of vocational schools, but that's a completely different thing. And then we have other schools that are not university level, and that's also another thing as well. So I would really need to know, what do you mean with a vocational school, and what kind of a degree would you mean would you be getting from a vocational school? Is it a bachelor's degree or a master's degree? What's the difference between a vocational school as you understand it and for example, a university? So if you want to let me know, and I will be able to give you a bit more context around this subject. Anyway, the next question comes from Raj Kapoor, who comes from India, and Raj has not decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is also interested in Aalto University in a bachelor's in engineering. And the question is there beautiful women in Finland? Absolutely, yes. Finnish women are absolutely beautiful. Wink. The same goes to Finnish men as well. For all the ladies watching, we are all so handsome. All right, I'm gonna retire. No, that was so cringy. Sorry about that. The answer to your question is yes, absolutely. The next question comes again from Twan Stege from the Netherlands. And once again, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your last name. The Dutch pronunciation is so difficult for me. I've tried it once, or a few times. I've actually been to Netherlands a couple of times, and it's so hard for me, the pronunciation. It's like putting a hot potato in my mouth. It's just impossible. Let's see. Anyway, Tuan is again starting school this semester at Laurea University of Applied Sciences, and this question is, my school is sending a group of 6 people, 3 males and 3 females, and I'm one of the males, to Laurea. We all applied to HOAS on the 1st of April. All the females got an offer on the 28th of May, while HOAS actually starts offering at 7th of June. All the males did not get anything yet. Is this normal from HOAS to send offers to women first, and do I need to get worried that I will not get an apartment? Don't get worried about not being able to get an apartment. You were early enough. Plus, since you are exchange students, you are going to be processed at different times. The most likely the reason why the ladies got the apartment offers first is that all shared apartments from HOAS are only they're one sex only, so they're either for the ladies or men only. So it might be that they simply process women and men separately, because they basically look at them one apartment at a time. So I would not be worried at all. It simply might be that they have been put into different kind of processing piles, and they go through them one by one. But again, I would not be worried at all. You guys were super early if you applied on April 1st. So absolutely no worries at all. Of course, also I don't recommend pestering HOAS about the schedules, because you have to take into account that they're processing thousands of applicants every semester. So it's gonna take a while. But again, you were super early, you're exchange students, so I'm pretty confident that you will get an apartment. Especially if the ladies already got one, that means that there are apartments available. Again, they just were processed separately. Excuse me. Something wrong. Anyway, the next question comes from Sudha from India, and Sudha is coming to Finland to work, not for school. and specifically in the field of dentistry. And the question is, what is the scope of dentists in Finland and how to learn Finnish language? Is it compulsory to learn Finnish language before getting admission in a university in Finland? No, it's not compulsory to get to learn Finnish to get admission to a university in Finland if you study in English. If you want to study in Finnish, which I don't recommend, you would need to be a native Finnish speaker, basically. The scope of dentistry, it's basically you get a professional proficiency to work as a dentist in Finland. I don't really, to be honest, I don't understand the question because I don't know the field. I don't understand the field and what the scope could or could not be. So by doing a degree in dentistry, it's a university level degree, you will get a professional proficiency or and certification to work as a dentist in Finland. However, I don't know if there are any degrees in dentistry in Finland in English, so please take that into account. Pim, you're welcome. Hopefully, I'm glad to hear that the answers helped you with your topic. And then, oh gosh, saying yes, Oliver. I also want you to see you in a beard. Darn, that's actually something that I cannot grow. I cannot grow a beard. I would really like to have a proper, a Nordic beard, especially during the winter. But I just cannot get a beard to grow, unfortunately. Let's see. Then the next question comes from Michael Nadirats, who comes from Georgia, and Michael is actually a regular on the channel. Awesome to have you here again. And the question, Michael is actually starting school this semester at the Hanken School of Business, doing a master's in finance, which is super awesome. I'm so happy for you. And the question is, hey, for the host apartment, is there any service which furnishes the room before I arrive to Finland to have everything ready beforehand? No, there are actually no services that would do furnishment for you, but I actually recommend that you should send Hoas an email about this as kind of a suggestion for the future, because this would actually be a super interesting service for international students, because I know what kind of a hassle it is to furnish your apartment, especially if you come just a few days or a week before the semester starts. So no, to my understanding, there are no services that you could use to kind of people would furnish your apartment beforehand. However, again, as I mentioned a couple of times during the stream, there are multiple second-hand furniture stores that you can use when you come to Finland, where you can actually get your furniture from. But actually, I think I might actually send an email about this to Hoas as well. I'll actually take a screenshot of this question because it's a very, very interesting idea, and I really want to let them know that this would be something that they could think about. So thanks a lot for a super, super interesting idea. The next question comes from Rishabh Jha, who comes from Nepal, and who is applying to Aalto University and the University of Helsinki next year, doing a master's in artificial intelligence. Excellent, excellent, excellent. The question is, does teaching experience increase chances of selection for a master's? Unless the degree that you're applying to is specifically in teaching, no, I don't think it will. However, of course, this will also depend whether or not the university asks for your CV when you apply for a master's. So if they want your CV, then of course your prior work experience is going to have some kind of an impact, or at least it's going to have some kind of a positive impact on your application. And if you have experience as a teacher, then sure, that might have some impact on the application, but it's not going to be the deciding factor when it comes to applying for a master's in AI. However, if you were to apply, to study, to become a teacher, and then that would be a different question altogether. However, of course, all kind of work experience is valuable, absolutely. Hey, Aditya, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to see you again. Just letting you know that there are quite a bit of questions already in the funnel or in the form. So if you post your question right now, it might be that I might not be able to get to your question today. But as always, if you post your question today, I will then continue with your question next week. So, you know, just be warned. I will most likely end the stream in around 30 minutes, so I will not most likely be able to go through every single question that has come to the stream form today. Next question comes from Dharma, who is from India, and Dharma is also a regular on the channel, which is awesome. And Dharma is applying to Aalto University to do a bachelor's in embedded systems and electronics. Excellent, super interesting stuff. I would love to be able to do electronics. I love these kind of topics, but I just suck at math, and that's why I never really, you know, went into engineering. But if I had to actually change my career or degree now, I would actually, or if I would be able to change something from my, you know, from my school history, I would actually focus more on math and actually go to engineering and do a mix of engineering and business, because I love this kind of stuff. And, you know, embedded systems is super interesting. And actually, I've talked about this during the stream, but we are actually working on a technology startup, and we actually have a very talented embedded systems engineer who is actually working in the space industry, and he's working on our embedded IoT system, and it's so interesting. So anyway, sorry, just mentioning that. The question is, will there be any restrictions to visit other places like Stockholm if we're exchange students? So depending on whether you refer to the current global situation or you know, just normally. So if you're talking about normally without, you know, the pandemic, no, there will be no kind of restrictions to visit other places like Stockholm, for example. If you are coming to Finland as an exchange student, I actually highly recommend that you visit, for example, Sweden or maybe Norway, because they're relatively close. And Stockholm, for example, is a beautiful city, the capital of Sweden. It's a very historic city. They have a very interesting history as a Nordic country. So no, there will be no restrictions, but of course you have to take into account the current situation, and there are currently quite strict travel restrictions, even between Nordic countries. So unfortunately. Then we have next question also from Dharma, and the question is, I think we can earn our required money by working part-time. Do we need to show any money initially before coming to Finland during when we apply for a residence permit, or is it okay if we manage that with a part-time job? So yeah, when you apply for your residence permit as a student for the first time, so basically for the first year of your studies, you cannot rely on a part-time job for your finances. So actually, I can just show this to you, how the Finnish Immigration Service puts this, so it's clear. So it is your responsibility, and this is the Finnish Immigration Services, so this is the official source. It is your responsibility to ensure that you have sufficient financial resources for living in Finland. It is difficult for students to find a job in Finland, especially in the beginning of your studies. When you apply for your first residence permit for studies, you cannot secure your income with work. This means that you must have at least 560 euros at your disposal, basically meaning on your bank account, every month to be able to pay for your accommodation, food, and other needs. For a 2-year stay, you must have 13,440 euros at your disposal. However, if you only want the residence permit for 1 year, at a time, you must have 6,720 euros at your disposal on your own bank account. Then, when you apply for an extended permit, basically, if you take a 1-year permit when you move to Finland, then if you apply for a 2nd-year permit after the 1st year, you may secure your means of support with work. However, your work may not slow down your studies. Your studies must progress at a normal pace. So these are super important to know. And again, it's the Finnish Immigration Service, and if you go to their website, go to residence permit, first residence permit, and then studying in Finland, and means of support. And from here, you can find all the correct information about means of support when you live in Finland. Great question. The next question comes from Parth Shevli, who comes from India as well. And the Parth is starting school this semester at the Metropolia University of Applied Sciences, great school. Doing a master's in quarantine, doing a master's, doing a master's in something. And the question is, hey Oliver, I'm from India. I have applied for accommodation from HOS, but as it is compulsory in Finland to go to quarantine for 14 days. In that case, where can I find cheap accommodation to serve my 14 days of quarantine, as housing provided by HOS are unfurnished, so I can't stay there? That's actually a good point. So if you have an unfurnished apartment, it's kind of difficult to do your quarantine there. Of course, if you have a furnished apartment, my understanding is that you can do your quarantine there. Where you can actually do your quarantine, this is actually a good question, and I would, because I'm not 100% sure what the government or the officials say about this, I would actually say that I cannot comment on this any further because I'm not actually sure what the requirements for this are. So please contact or go through the website of the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, and they have a specific page on the COVID things and the restrictions, the quarantine, all the information that you need to know. And this is the official governmental institution that takes care of this kind of stuff. So they have all the official information about this. Please refer to them in every single question that you have about this topic. I don't want to spread information that is either going to be false or it's correct right now, but it's going to be old news next week. So just, letting you know. Agilis Wuda, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Saying, hey Oliver, just wanted to ask, what time of the week do you start your live streams? I set an alarm for 10:30 p.m. Indonesian time Thursday, but it seems to not be synchronized with your schedule. Yeah, so Agilis, I actually apologize. I made a mistake a while ago, and I actually mentioned for a couple of weeks straight that the stream would start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern European time, so Helsinki time. However, that was actually incorrect, and I apologize. That was my mistake. Someone in the Discord server actually notified of the mistake. So I go live every single week on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern European time. So that's Helsinki basically. So just go to any kind of time zone app and look up Helsinki. You should find Helsinki in the time zone. It should be Eastern European time. So 5:30 p.m. local time. But thanks for letting me know, and I do apologize for the mistake. It was my bad. I spread. I mentioned that the wrong time multiple times in a row. For example, in the YouTube community tab. That was my mistake. Anyway, the next question comes from Mikhail Nadirats, who again is from Georgia. And the question is there any opportunities to firstly come to Finland without a residence permit, with a visa-free movement as a Schengen state member, and afterwards get a residence permit? Will the COVID-19 situation be a big obstacle for that? This is a very good question. I don't know. To be honest, I actually don't know. What I recommend you to do is to go to oops, there we go. I recommend that you go Google Migri, which is the Finnish immigration service, Schengen, and then start going through the different links that they have. They do have pretty okay information about this kind of stuff on their website, but this is a very specific question and I have not looked this up. I will try to look this up for next week, so if you're not able to find the information yourself, hopefully I will know the answer to this question by next week, but I cannot promise this because it sometimes takes quite a lot of time for me to do background research. So, but unfortunately, I have not looked into Schengen Schengen member countries. So I'm not 100% sure. So I will not answer this, just so that I will not give you a wrong answer, at least. Let's put it this way. Cool. Then then the next question comes also from Michael Nadirats once again, and the question actually one more question here. Will I get a vaccine in Finland as an international student if I cannot sort it out before coming to Finland? Interesting question. Once again, I will not answer this because this has to do with COVID and the vaccinations, and I'm not 100% sure. And I don't want to guess. I have a guess, but I will not say it out loud here because I don't want to spread wrong information. Once again, please look for all the information from the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, and for example, because they will let you know, for example, whether or not you have to be vaccinated before you come to Finland. And if they, for example, tell you that you need to be vaccinated before you come to Finland, then that would mean that you cannot get the vaccine from Finland. So, take this into account. I would also recommend you to, if you cannot find the answer to your question from this page, please contact the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare directly via email, and hopefully they will be able to give you an answer to this question. Interesting question, important question, but unfortunately, I don't want to answer questions about the pandemic topics because, again, I don't want to spread false information or information that is going to be old news next week. The next question comes from Frankie from India, and Frankie is applying to do a master's in international management. Awesome. And the question is, how are things going on there in Finland? Is it under lockdown or are things moving smoothly? Things are actually moving very smoothly, and the government is actually opening up the country internally quite a lot. And actually, I've mentioned this a couple of times in the stream. Basically, if you just walk outside, on the streets and go to the shops, the only things that you kind of see that is different from normal is, of course, people wear masks. But restaurants have to close a bit earlier, and there are no big outdoors events, right now. But the government is actually going to allow them with some restrictions later this summer, hopefully. But yeah, I would say that Finland is one of the best countries to be in the entire world right now at this point in the pandemic because we're doing so well. For example, I got vaccinated yesterday. The vaccination here is extremely well organized, and it's moving on really quickly. So thumbs up for the Finnish public healthcare system. And then did Finland restrict people coming from different countries for studies due to the pandemic? There are some restrictions, but the biggest problem that people have is that since if you come from outside of the European Union, you have to go to a Finnish embassy or a mission to give your basically your fingerprint. And for example, in India, many of the embassies are closed right now. So that is one of the biggest problems that people have been having with coming physically to Finland. But also there are some restrictions in terms of from the Finnish government as well. Again, please refer to the Finnish Institute of Health and Welfare. Once again, just showing super quickly the website. So that's thl.fi, from where you actually get to the front page, and then just change this into English. And from here, bottom left, you can see latest updates about COVID and all things related to it. Please always refer to the official sources when thinking about these kind of things. Please do not trust any kind of information that you read online from any kind of blogs, Reddit, YouTube, whatever. Don't even trust me in this kind of things, because what I say here, if I accidentally say something about restrictions or something else, it is going to be old news in a week. I always try to refer to the official sources on this channel so that I don't spread false information. All right. Cool. What I think I will do right now is we have a bunch of questions still left on the in the form. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go through all of the questions today. I simply don't have the time, and there's way too many questions coming all the time. It's almost been we have almost gone for 3 hours or already today. So at this point, I would just like to remind everyone that I'm currently building a comprehensive job hunting course that goes through everything that you need to know about job hunting in Finland, from all the way from the legal rights of job hunters in or seekers in Finland, all the way to salary negotiations, how to use LinkedIn as a job hunting tool, CVs, motivation letters, etc., and all the way to how to start your first day at your new job. And the course is not yet ready, but if you want to learn more about this course and be the first one to know when it comes out or when it's published, and what the actual final price for the course will be, sign up through the link that I just sent in the chat to a waiting list, and I will let you know when the course is about to be finished. Yeah, of course, if you are not yet a member, I highly recommend that you consider joining our Discord server. In the server, we are building a community of people interested in studying, living, and working in Finland, and we answer each other's questions about all of these topics. We already have more than 550 people there, so it's growing really fast. And also there, I post updates about upcoming videos and live streams. So there's a link in the chat if you're interested in joining. And finally, of course, if you got some value out of the stream, I would really appreciate if you would gently tap the like button. We are currently at 46 likes. It would be awesome to get to 50 likes with the stream. And if you are not yet subscribed, of course, consider subscribing for more videos about living, studying, and working in Finland. And if I didn't answer your question this week, I'm sorry about that. There were so many questions this week that I simply wasn't able to go through all of them. But I will start next week's live stream with the questions that were left over from this week's stream. So if you want to get your question answered, join us early next week, 5:30 p.m. Helsinki time on Thursdays. And yeah, awesome. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye bye.